through which the Illuminati human line, carrying the Amenti Stargate codes interbred from the angelic humans, would be ready for the 2012-2013 AD Alpha Omega alignment. So they could be ready to run the codes in on reverse, to open Amenti on reverse, so it could receive the Metatronic broadcast that would be coming in from the wormholes. Throughout the history of this Atlantean drama, since the 22,326 BC stalemate, the GA-MCEO Crystal River Guardians progressively attempted to postpone the final conflict drama until the organic next Amenti Gates SAC of 4,230 AD, but intended to intervene directly if the Illuminati force attempted to orchestrate early opening of Earth's halls of Amenti Stargates in 2012 to engage the Alpha Omega Fall alignment. In 1984 AD, the Guardians initiated the Bridgestone Project, Templar Restoration Mission, so it's talked about in the Voyages books, and began early opening of the Amenti Stargates for the 2012 to 2017 period because they discovered that Earth met with a cataclysmic end in the future probability of 2976 AD, and thus Earth would not make it to the next organic stellar activation cycle of 4230 AD. If the Bridgestone Project had been successful, Earth's encryption lattice would have been restored to organic ascension path alignment, and the Illuminati 2012 master plan of the Alpha Omega alignment would be prevented. With the fall of Earth's halls of Amenti Stargates to Metatronic control in 2003, the Bridgestone Project evolutionary option failed by 2006. Thus, Earth is currently in the middle of the covert final conflict drama and rapidly approaching the 2012 Illuminati Alpha Omega alignment and its intended last extinction agenda. The date of 2012 AD was chosen by the Illuminati Elder Races as the point of fulfillment for their master plan prime objective, because this is the date period in which the Fallgate system of parallel Earth and parallel Milky Way open into the Metatronic wormholes in our galactic core. It is thus the point in time at which the Alpha Omega alignment between Earth's accelerated Templar and the fallen parallel galactic Templar system can engage inorganic Metatronic blending through the Metatronic wormhole system in the black hole core of our Milky Way galaxy. Simply put, the Metatronic encryption lattice of Earth's halls of Amenti Stargates aligns with that of the fallen parallel Earth and Milky Way through our galactic core to engage the Alpha Omega fall path alignment. That last sentence was in simple terms. So this is what 2012 is about. There is this alignment. It's not. It's funny. There's all sorts of people out there trying to predict what the alignment is with galactic core because the Mayan calendar gave some hints to it and that kind of thing. But there's underlying things that they're not going to fully understand what those alignments mean if they don't understand what is the galactic core connected to, for example. Right? This has been part of the big secret since the Atlantean period, the part that the Beloveds hadn't talked about when they first gave the book Voyagers, because we were still hoping that it wouldn't get to this point if a lot of the Anu races has held their treaties with us. The activations of the Templar wouldn't have gone this far, but they are releasing the whole thing at this point because it's gone this far, and we've got 3 years to be ready for this fiasco, which is basically what it's going to be. Okay, next question. Uh-oh. Let me see if this is the long one. We're going to do coffee break at 1. Short one.
Exactly 1 o'clock.
Is it? I think I want to read this one first, though. We're supposed to do a coffee break at 1, but I think I want to just get this one before we go anyplace again. Okay. Now, the next question. I think this is, this was the one that took forever to answer. So I'm sure we'll all be glad for a short break after we finish however many pages it is, 6 or 8 or whatever. What is the core purpose behind the Illuminati Master Plan Prime Objective of forcing Earth into Alpha Omega Fall Path alignment in 2012, and how can they achieve this prime objective? Oh boy. You would not believe how complicated the answer to that one is. Not so much the first part. The core purpose isn't that hard to understand. How can they achieve it? Whoa, this is like crash course in how Death Star Merkabahs work. So, we'll start with, during the Illuminati Templar victory of the 10,948 BC Atlantean period, the Illuminati force succeeded in establishing a long-range electromagnetic wormhole link between the solar stargates at the core of our sun and those at the core of our parallel sun within the parallel Milky Way galaxy. So they started with making wormholes between the two suns. The Illuminati elder races refer to the fall-aligned black hole system of the parallel Milky Way galaxy as the alpha wormhole system, as it is the beginning point from which their progressive invasion into our Milky Way galaxy was launched long ago. The Illuminati elders refer to our Milky Way galaxy as the Omega wormhole system, as it is the intended endpoint at which their progressive invasion will end with fulfillment of the Illuminati master plan prime objective, hence the term alpha-omega fall path alignment. We're talking about the wormholes that lead to what we'll read about now. When the Illuminati elder races achieved their 10,948 BC Templar victory through large-scale Metatronic Bloom of Doom death science applications and successfully created the inorganic long-range electromagnetic wormhole link between our sun's core solar stargates and those of the parallel sun, this wormhole link enabled the Illuminati elders to create a massive solar space-time anomaly called the Solar Time Torus Tunnel. The Solar Time Torus Tunnel formed an inorganic Vesica-Pisces blend with the and resultant anomalous tube torus-shaped Metatronic space-time adhesion field between our Milky Way galaxy and the parallel Milky Way galaxy through the core stargates of their respective suns. So our sun and through the sun in the sun that would be with parallel Earth. Right? They literally created this time torus tunnel. Right? There's just the beginning of a mess they've created and which is activating. With creation of the solar time torus tunnel, our solar system became an inorganic binary star system, with the orbit of our sun directly unnaturally tied to the orbit of this invisible parallel sun. At the 10,948 BC point in time where the solar time torus tunnel was created, the solar orbit cycles brought the solar stargates of both suns into direct alignment with the core stargates of their respective galactic cores. So in this particular period of time, in the solar cycles of each of the systems, that the suns in each system, parallel in here, aligned with the galactic cores. Like it'd be like our sun's stargates aligning with the galactic core stargates in our system, and the same occurring over there. Now, we'll probably look at this a little bit more tomorrow if I have time to do the diagrams where I can show a bit of what that looks like on the probability map alignments that we've been working with before. But what happens next is quite fascinating. So they created, this is the big secret of what happened back about 13,000 years ago. It was the creation first of the solar time torus tunnel. Okay, let's see where I left off. Okay, so at that time that they were created, in that time period, that is when both of those suns also were in alignment, the stargates were in alignment with the stargates of the galactic centers. All right. Now, through the inorganic link of the solar time torus tunnel, the core stargates of our Milky Way galaxy were inorganically wormhole linked to the core stargates of the fall-aligned parallel Milky Way galaxy. So it literally went from, you had on the parallel side, you had the galactic core gates that linked into the solar gates at that time period, and then they linked those solar gates to our solar gates, and our solar gates were already linked into our galactic core. So it created a whole link of wormhole right across. And it looks like a straight line, actually, when you see it on the probability maps. I just didn't have time to do those for today. Right. This galactic core wormhole link created a second massive tube torus-shaped intergalactic space-time adhesion field surrounding the smaller solar time torus tunnel. The intergalactic space-time adhesion field created an inorganic intergalactic space-time displacement field time rip called the Toral Rift, T-O-R-A-L, derived from torus, tube torus, right? So the Toral Rift time rip. And remember, this was created with the solar, whatever they call it, time tourist tunnel. Right? Some of these words, it's just tongue-tie-me. But these were all created in the 10,948 BC period, right? So they created this intergalactic space-time displacement field time rip called the Toral Rift, was created around the smaller time tunnel at its center, right? This was also known as the Great Rift of Space-Time between our Milky Way and the parallel Milky Way galaxies. And they put in parentheses here, ancient Maya referred to the Toral Rift as the Black Road. And there's some, I don't know, I haven't studied the Mayan stuff a lot, but there's something about in 2012 we're supposed to align with the Black Road. And there's a word for it in, the Mayan language. Yeah. Okay. Illuminati elder forces from the fall-aligned parallel alpha Milky Way galaxy system had been attempting for eons, long before Earth became ensnared in the drama, to create the Toral Rift intergalactic time rip anomaly. This anomaly represented the final missing piece of the intergalactic Metatronic Alpha-Omega wormhole puzzle they had been painstakingly assembling over many millions of years to fulfill the prime objective of their Omega System invasion master plan, because they have been planning to invade this system so they could harness it, the quantum, which we'll get to in a little bit. Though the Alpha Illuminati elders, the ones from the Alpha system or the parallel system, so they're now referring to them as the Alpha Illuminati elders, had come close to creating the intergalactic Alpha-Omega Toral Rift anomaly during various periods of intergalactic history. They did not fully succeed in this endeavor until their Templar victory of the 10,948 BC Earth Atlantis. So after all the millions of years that they've been trying to do this, and there's all sorts of warfares that we've seen pieces of the history of, they never quite got this far where they could actually bring the two systems together, force them together, force this system to fall, turn it into a black hole that gets eaten by the other black hole, so it fills the quantum of the other black hole that's going to explode itself if it doesn't get fed. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what it's about, but we'll have more in a nutshell here. The prime objective of the Omega System Invasion Master Plan, for which the Alpha Illuminati Elder Races created the intergalactic Toral Rift space-time rip and corresponding Alpha-Omega wormhole networks, was quite simple and single-minded. The parallel Milky Way alpha galaxy long ago entered final fall alignment to become a self-contained finite quantum quarantined black hole fall system that was destined by the eternal cosmic laws of cause, effect, and consequence to engage the path of space dust return upon expiration of its finite quantum and resultant full system particle-antiparticle annihilation, because that is what happens in fall systems. That's how they go back to space dust return. They implode and then explode. And then in particulate form, or back to Party-Chi consciousness, then they pick up back into the living system and can get taken back into source. But they don't get taken back in with memory matrix or anything. You just go back to units of the consciousness of source kind of thing, which they each have a little bit of consciousness, but you won't remember who you were or where you came from kind of thing. Say, hi, I'm a Party-Chi. It'll be about the extent of the identity. So anyway. So they are the fallen Alpha Illuminati Elder Races devised their Omega Invasion Master Plan agenda with the prime objective of ensnaring further quanta of living energy with which to feed their dying system in order to indefinitely postpone the inevitable space dust return of their galaxy. The Alpha Illuminati elders employed large-scale use of the Metatronic Bloom of Doom death sciences to create the inorganic intergalactic Alpha-Omega wormhole networks and to create the intergalactic Great Toral Rift of 10,948 BC. The purpose of the Toral Rift intergalactic space-time displacement field, time rip, that's a big description there, was and is specifically to draw the living energy quanta of the Milky Way galaxy into their fall-aligned parallel Milky Way galaxy black hole in order to feed the quantum spin of their fallen galaxy to postpone the organic consequence of its implosion. If the Alpha Illuminati elders could succeed in this prime objective, this gets even better, they believed they would then be able to enlarge the plan by devouring other neighboring galaxies, following the expansion cycle ratios of the Fibonacci spiral, to orchestrate an artificial facsimile second creation that could perpetually sustain itself through forced metatronic feeding from the living first creation systems of the eternal life cosmos. If they could go that far, they could go the whole distance, is what they were thinking. Oh boy, what were they thinking? This is what they were thinking. When the Alpha Illuminati elders succeeded in creating the Great Toral Rift intergalactic space-time displacement field in 10,948 BC Atlantis, through first creating the solar time-torus tunnel wormholing between our solar core stargates and those of parallel, a second time acceleration of Earth's pole wobble was simultaneously initiated, and the first one was the one that happened in 13,400 BC, and more of that will be talked about in the summary one, but it's where they did certain things that accelerated the cycle of the equinox, and that occurred by accelerating the wobble, the wobble of the Earth's axis, which has something to do with what they did in the core. So it's basically all of that was done in order to have the gate alignments occur between the Amenti gates on parallel that were falling and the ones over here that weren't falling yet but are now. Okay, let's see. So it's that period when they created the Toral Rift. That was their big accomplishment, creating the Toral Rift. That when they did the second acceleration on the precession of the equinoxes and on the planetary wobble. The second Earth pole wobble acceleration accelerated the SAC cycle of a portion of Earth's halls of Amenti gates into direct synchronization with the SAC opening cycle of the parallel Earth Amenti stargates. So back then, that's when it started, that it synchronized in that period. Because of this, 10,948 BC Earth time acceleration and subsequent inorganic Earth parallel Earth Amenti stargate synchronization, Earth's Amenti stargates would open prematurely during the 2012 AD opening of the parallel Earth Amenti gates. In 2012 AD, when the intergalactic planetary Amenti stargates sets begin synchronized opening in October 2012, Earth and parallel Earth will engage Metatronic Alpha-Omega fall alignment. As the two artificially synchronized stellar activation cycles initiate their Amenti Stargate opening cycles with opening of the solar and parallel solar core stargates, the central inorganic 10,948 BC solar time torus tunnel wormhole link between our sun and parallel sun will also open. Now they start going and they're going to talk about as if this is happening, but they're doing it under the word if. Okay, which means potential for intervention, and at some point some of this better be stopped or we might as well just go on vacation now. Forget it. Right? If the Illuminati Master Plan Prime Objective unfolds in 2012 as the Illuminati Elders intend, which is not going to, but if it did, opening of the solar time torus tunnel wormhole will then open the inorganic intergalactic alpha-omega wormholes at the galactic cores of our Milky Way and the parallel Milky Way galaxy, resultantly opening the 10,948 BC intergalactic Toral Rift Metatronic space-time displacement field time rip of the Atlantean past into the future period of our present 2012 AD. They will get that far. All right? The if, that much is going to happen. All right? There's a bit more after that that's going to happen, but it's not going to go as far as pole shift. All right? Once the Atlantean Toral Rift opens, now this is, let's say, okay, if it goes the way they're planning, right? So far, it is going to, but there's going to be a point where certain things we're going to read here are not what's going to occur. But if it weren't for the intervention that's being done, they would. Okay, so once the Atlantean Toral Rift opens into the fabric of our contemporary 2012 space-time, an anomalous space-time blend of past and future present converging will unfold. So it's literally opening like a tunnel into that particular time. That 10,948 BC Atlantis is still a place in the space-time rhythms, because we've talked about before that space and time are simultaneous, and it has to do with what time track you're on. It's literally ripping hole between two time tracks. And it gets even stranger. Here's where we find out what Death Star Merkabas can do. Okay, so as the two as the two respective planetary Amenta gate sets open into their respective solar stargate alignments, Earth and parallel Earth will be brought into Alpha Omega Foul alignment of the 10,948 BC Toral Rift time rip. Now, if there's anything, there's a number of things that are aligning here, but when it comes to 2012, what's the big thing? What are we aligning with? That's the big thing. Okay, we have wormholes that are not quite as big an issue, and we have the solar time torus tunnel that is not as big an issue. This is a big issue. This is a massive, literally where you could take a solar system and suck it into a different space-time alignment. And from what they explained, it's not pretty. Once the Amenta stargates, now again we're going if there's no intervention, this is what would happen. All right. Once the Amenta stargates of Earth and parallel Earth engage with the Atlantean Toral Rift 10,948 BC time rip, Earth and parallel Earth and Sun and parallel Sun will then initiate cataclysmic geomagnetic field pole shift and geographical crust roll rotation, where the axis actually stays there, but the crust rolls all over the mantle at the Alpha Omega fall alignment peak of December 21st, 2012. And the reason this would happen would be so the geomagnetic fields would resume the planetary and solar polar alignments that were present during, and still are present, in the 10,948 BC period. So they would roll them back into that in order to begin rolling us, literally, out of the fabric of space-time here and into the fabric of space-time there. During the 10,948 BC period, the solar stargates of both our Sun and parallel Sun were in direct alignment with the core galactic stargates of their respective galactic cores, which means each sun was aligned with its galaxy, and then they opened the suns between each other, right? Which allowed for opening of the intergalactic wormholes at the core of both galaxies, through which the Toral Rift time rip space-time displacement field was created. So that's during that alignment was when this whole thing was created in the first place. When contemporary Earth and parallel Earth, Sun and parallel Sun resume the galactic core aligned planetary and solar polar alignments of the 10,948 BC period, the energy quantum of our solar system and that of the parallel solar system will be progressively compressed and drawn backward in time. The quantum of the two solar systems first compacting into a Vesica-Pisces bond at the center of the Toral Rift space-time displacement field. Now here we get into the process by which this occurs, which is morbidly fascinating. The process by which our solar system and its parallel solar system are drawn back in time into the Toral Rift time rip involves Metatronic Death Science Death Star distorted Merkaba vortex mechanics. The energy quantum of our solar system and that of the parallel solar system first compact into a Vesica-Pisces bond at the core of the Toral Rift time rip. So they're not pulled in yet; they're actually aligning with it as the Merkaba field vortex set of each respective sun is progressively attracted into opposite polarity electromagnetic bond with the Merkaba fields of the other sun. So the Merkabas of each field are coming progressively together first, before it goes all the way back in time. First they merge in our time. The two suns begin, the Merkaba fields start merging. Okay. As the two solar systems progressively collide to engage the Vesica-Pisces orbit, they are, and this is after the pole shift, so you wouldn't have to worry about it anyway. Basically, if it was going to happen, we'd all be roasted by now, gone, right? So this is what happens after the sixth extermination. Right? As the two solar systems progressively collide to engage the Vesica-Pisces orbit, they are both drawn backward in time toward the 10,948 BC center creation point of the Toral Rift space-time displacement field. Now, as the two solar systems draw backward in time, the spin speeds of their respective Merkaba fields progressively accelerate. when the spin speed of our mutated same spin vortex set, because right now the planetary fields are mutated, where instead of having the top one going clockwise and the bottom one going counterclockwise in every Merkaba set, what you have is one set of two going in the same direction, and they create a phase-locked set, and another set of two going in counterspin, and they're also a phase-locked set. So instead of two vortices, like would be the natural configuration, there's actually four, and that's characteristic of the Death Star and Bloom of Doom Merkaba mechanics that are being taught. And we get to find out a bit what these Merkabas do. When the spin of our mutated same spin vortex set solar Merkaba fields reaches 34 spin, and the likewise mutated same spin vortex set of the parallel solar Merkaba field simultaneously reaches 21 counterspin, the two solar Merkaba fields and their contents, which happens to be our solar systems, right, are drawn together and begin backward time progression toward the center point of the toral rift's tube torus-shaped Metatronic harness field. As the two solar Merkaba fields merge, the faster 34-spin solar Merkaba field reverses the spin of the slower 21 parallel solar Merkaba field, and the two solar Merkaba fields accelerate to a 55-spin speed, blending to form a large, singular, inorganic, external Metatronic Merkaba field space-time same spin vortex set. So once it hits 55, it creates a larger one outside around the fields of the two, right? Right. Let's see. Where is that? With an internal. Okay. And within this large 55 spin Merkaba, it has an internal Metatronic atomic encasement harness, like a bubble of energy inside that harnesses atoms, and which will surround the quanta of the two solar systems that are held within it. So it's actually taking two different suns and their solar systems, each with a Merkaba set that should be, a top and a bottom spiral, each one of them, and forcing them together. It forms a larger shared Merkaba field with a faster spin speed, and it mashes the two solar systems together in the center. All right, let's see. See where I'm here. Spin speed. It takes me a minute here. My eyes don't move that fast anymore these days. Wait. Following the Fibonacci expansion sequence, the blended solar Merkaba field accelerates from its 55 starting spin speed to a 144 spin speed, hits 89 first, then it goes 144, at which point the blended solar Merkaba field generates an external thermal field encasement and jumps the organic boundaries of space, time, and light, entering a superluminal state to pass into the center point of the 10,948 BC toral rift time rip, where it becomes an externally fueled, finite life, Death Star, external Merkaba vehicle, black hole feeder field. And remember, the solar systems are mashed in the middle of this, right? Once formed, the Death Star external Merkaba vehicle begins quantum feeding from the remaining local living energy environments of our Milky Way and the parallel Milky Way galaxies, initiating quantum growth and spin speed acceleration following the Fibonacci expansion sequence through perpetual quantum feeding of the life fields of both galaxies. So it will continue to feed on those galaxies until it drags more and more of the quantum into itself. What's interesting is what it does to the matter inside. As the blended Merkaba field accelerates to 144 spin speed to enter the superluminosity state of the Death Star external Merkaba vehicle, it progressively acts as a particle accelerator to the quanta of the two solar systems held within its internal atomic encasement harness. Once the point of superluminosity is reached, extreme particle acceleration of the encased matter forms of the two suns and their solar systems causes their encryption lattices and the atomic structure to progressively implode, explode, and shatter within the Metatronic atomic encasement harness at the center of the Death Star Merkaba vehicle. The two solar systems are thus reduced to raw energy quanta of hyperaccelerated space dust within the internal atomic encasement harness. The quanta of the two solar systems blends and merges to form a singular quantum field of inorganic superluminal artificial static radiation deadlight particulates quarantined within the atomic encasement harness. While in the superluminal state, the Death Star Merkaba vehicle and the superluminal quanta radiation particulate field of what had been the two solar systems that is held within its encasement harness is then quantum transferred through the Metatronic Alpha Omega wormhole passages out of the 10,948 BC Toral Rift space-time displacement field and into the Alpha System parallel Milky Way galaxy as quantum influx. So they are using this time anomaly to drag stuff back in there where they can take it, the Merkabas activate to superluminal state. It takes the particles back, and at that point they're accelerated so much they explode into particulate dust. And then from there, it accelerates and moves through the wormhole, so it can move whatever it just stole wherever it wants to. And this is how the false ascendant masters come back and forth from those systems, because they activate those Merkabic vehicles. But what's interesting is what happens after this. You get a structure back, and once it has that structure, it can move with these Death Star vehicles. But once quantum transfer has occurred, so once the thing is formed in the time rip and then dragged through the wormholes to where they want to put it in the parallel system, right, the metatronically harnessed quantum of what was the two solar systems is transferred within the Death Star Merkaba vehicle to the fallen parallel Milky Way galaxy alpha black hole system. And the Death Star begins, then the Death Star begins spin speed deceleration, leaving the superluminal state, and the singular quantum field of inorganic superluminal artificial static radiation deadlight particulates, that's a long description there, within its internal atomic encasement harness, begin corresponding particle deceleration. So it speeds all up, goes superluminal, turns the stuff to space dust inside of it, then it starts to slow down again. Right? As the when it moves it to where it wants it to be. As the static radiation particulates of what had been the two solar systems engage particle deceleration and leave the superluminal state, the matter structure reforms within the Death Star internal atomic encasement harness through the process of particle reaccretion, following an inorganic blended organization of what was the original core encryption lattices of the two solar systems. So the encryption lattices that got shattered of the two solar systems, each little unit of anything will always have a piece of its organization still within it, its radiation signature organizational instructions. So they start to reassemble, but instead of just having things that are from the particle universe assembling with the particle and things from the antiparticle universe assembling with themselves, they're starting to assemble together in twisted form, and they create something, a complete anomaly as a matter form that is completely not sustainable, first of all, but is completely inorganic. All right. So, following an inorganic blended organization of what was the original encryption lattices of the two solar systems, the deadlight radiation particulates within the Death Star encasement harness each still carry a minute nanobyte of the original encryption lattice radiation signature from which they fragmented. Through this nanobyte radiation signature, the particulates from both the particle and antiparticle solar systems recreate a distorted organization to reform a mutated blended encryption lattice upon which the particulates rematerialize into a new matter form within the Death Star atomic encasement harness. The new artificially rendered matter form rematerializes within the parallel Milky Way galaxy alpha black hole system as a singular, distorted, finite life mutated facsimile of the original two solar systems. The particulate field rematerializes within the Death Star atomic encasement harness in the parallel alpha system black hole as a new finite life artificial light facsimile Death Star solar system. So this is where a Death Star solar system was created, and that's the beginning of how they want to create a Death Star galaxy and then a Death Star universe, progressively sucking it in. So they want to use the two suns to drag in our solar system and the parallel antiparticle solar system, mush them together and create the first step in their plan, which is the Death Star solar system. That is a feeder system. It has a black hole around it that sucks energy in. So it will continue to suck the energy out of the two galaxies that it was connected to, and then from then on, their plan was to have it continue to do that with neighboring galaxies and continue the building process. But they're going to find out it really doesn't work. They were warned for ages. It really doesn't. It comes back on them eventually. Let's see. The particulate field remember there where I am. Yeah, okay. I didn't get to the twisted fallen version yet. All right. The particulate field rematerializes within the Death Star encasement harness in the parallel alpha system black hole as a new finite life artificial light facsimile Death Star solar system, a permanently mutated, twisted, fallen version of our solar system and the parallel system combined. The new facsimile solar system then falls under the hierarchical, how do I say that? Hierarchical. Don't worry about literals right now, it's not proofed anyway. All right, under the hierarchical quantum dominance of the Metatronic encryption lattice of the finite life quarantined parallel alpha fall system. So in other words, once you get in there, that quarantine system and what its larger quantum encryption lattice is will actually dominate your personal encryption lattice, which means you have no more free will. This is where you go into hive mind stuff, where you don't even have, progressively, the more that plugs in, you just lose. You don't have free will, so eventually you just don't have free thought, and you're just like a kind of walking robot for whatever the larger collectives are that have more energy quantum than you do as an individual. All right, so it falls under the hierarchical quantum dominance of the Metatronic encryption lattice of the finite life quarantined parallel alpha fall system. Once the official Death Star solar system is reformed inside of the Death Star Merkaba vehicle, it will continue Metatronic Fibonacci expansion. It is progressive expansion. There is no contraction on this. It just keeps going and going because it keeps feeding and expanding, right? Like they say our galaxy is doing. It will continue Metatronic Fibonacci expansion through progressive consumption of the two galactic fields from which it was formed, as its feeder Death Star Merkaba vehicle continues to siphon energy quanta from the remaining living energy aspects of the two galaxies. The Death Star solar system feeds, as the Death Star solar system feeds, it will progressively pull the Milky Way and parallel Milky Way galaxies into Death Star transformation. They're calling this Death Star transformation. That process that just happened, where it hit 55, speed spin with the quantified stuff, with the quantum of captured energy inside, be it a being or a building or a solar system, and then it accelerated to superluminal. When it hit 144 spin speed, then it goes into superluminal. At superluminal, it accelerates the particles inside of itself so fast that they actually shatter. Their encryption lattices actually shatter. They bring it back into that one time period from which they can access all of their wormhole gates, and then they can move it in that vehicle as just space dust quantum into whatever fallen system they want to move it in. Then they can decelerate the Merkaba, the Death Star Merkaba vehicle, and it will remanifest a twisted version of the original form because of the pieces of the encryption of the original forms that were still there. So that is basically, in a nutshell, of what this menagerie does. It's an abomination in nature, actually, or anti-nature. Let's see, anyway. Let's start again. All right, so the process, that whole process is referred to now as the Death Star transformation. And as later, I won't go into this, I'll do it after break, when we get into what this looks like on a personal level. Because the people who have been working with certain paradigms have been taught to create and activate these Merkaba fields with themselves. And we're also going to all get a nice dose of it, even if we didn't ask for it, in 2012. So there's a lot more to talk about with this. Let me get to a certain point with this, but before we go into what it does personally and what to do about it, basically, because some people, if they've gotten entangled with teachings that are teaching them to do that, they don't know the difference. They think it's ascension stuff. There are things, remedial things, that can be done, and the only time there's really nothing that can be done is if somebody has hit full superluminal, where they can actually travel back and forth with it. At that point, you can't undo the first shattering and putting back together in a distorted form. And they won't be able to do ascension, passage stuff. But you can, a being that goes through that, they will never be able to do, in this lifetime, do biological ascension. But with very specialized hosts, they can get out at the Bardo point of the body. But the body will not want to die. It'll keep feeding. And it'll go, it expands life. I mean, these Merkaba fields actually extend. Well, you have to like be dead first, and then you become the living dead by sucking energy off other things through that Merkaba field. But it will prolong that false form of living, which isn't, it's not really live. It kills the being first and then kind of resurrects it into a facsimile of itself. But they do have very, very long lifespans. Sometimes like, 300,000-400,000 years old, because they can preserve the form as long as they feed. So if you want to become a vampire, use those forms. And it's not, like sticking your teeth into somebody's neck kind of vampiring. It's actually more sinister. It's literally soul stealing, the energy field. So anyway, let's see. After we get to Death Star transformation and corresponding, let's see, where did I start? Some of these sentences really should be 3. When I look at them, like, where's the period? Or an apostrophe or something. As the Death Star solar Merkaba feeds, it progressively pulls the Milky Way and parallel Milky Way into the Death Star transformation and corresponding path of fall space dust return alignment. So once you go into this, once you have this vehicle activated, be you a galaxy or a person, it is full fall alignment, because it's the point of no return once you've gone through the Death Star transformation, which means the first time that activates and your template gets ripped apart and then stuffed back together in a weird way, that at that point you are in a fall alignment, and there is no way to get you back on the ascension path without doing space dust return first. All right. So that's what they're planning for our solar system and our galaxy. Nice people, these, not? Right. Okay. Okay, so as they're bringing the, as they're using that harnessed solar system that they created the facsimile solar system with, they'll use that as the core around which this Death Star Merkaba spins and continues to suck energy in from the galaxies it's connected to, until eventually they can bring the whole galaxies in, and then they would not just have a Death Star solar system, they would have a Death Star black hole galaxy. And then they would be able to go for the universal level. So creation of the artificial Death Star black hole feeder galaxy is the core purpose, prime objective, of the Alpha Omega Illuminati master plan. The Alpha Illuminati elders of the fallen parallel Milky Way galaxy Alpha black hole system joined with other Illuminati elder races of several other quarantined fallen black hole systems to form the Alpha Omega false godhead Illuminati elder fallen angel hierarchy. And this whole godhead thing that's coming through I mean, you have brotherhoods of all sorts of colors and stuff coming through in the New Age movement. This is, they're directly connected into these. And say, through creation of the artificial Death Star black hole galaxy, an abomination of Metatronic Bloom of Doom death science creation, the Alpha Omega false godhead falling Illuminati elder collectives hope to recreate creation in their own image. They hope to use the Death Star galaxy to create, then assimilate others of its kind. In other words, take living universes, force them in to fall, and then suck them in to blend them in to make their universe bigger. Urantria book is really good at trying to get you to go there without even talking about Merkabas. Right? To form a massive Death Star universe that sustains its existence and averts the organic consequences of eternal cosmic physics laws through perpetual rape of and feeding on the living cosmos. The Alpha Omega false godhead, godhead, will discover the great fallacy of its recent rendition of their master plan prime objective in 2976. So they have got an appointment with destiny in 2976. The Metatronic boom, which I'll talk about later, the Metatronic Bloom of Doom death science dynamics of the Death Star Merkaba vehicle described above in relation to the macrocosmic Illuminati master plan prime objective also apply. And right after I finish this little paragraph here, that's when we can take a break, and then we'll come back, because this is getting into the personal level, right? Okay, so these dynamics that we just described of the Death Star transformation and all of that, right? We describe them in the context of the macrocosmic Illuminati master plan prime objective. These also apply on a microcosmic level. Individual life forms who engage Death Star Merkaba vehicle activation, either unconsciously through environmental planetary encryption lattice quantum dominance, which is what the planet's going into in 2012, or consciously through intentional practice of Death Star Merkaba vehicle activation technologies, both of them are aligning with the Death Star fall path destiny. Individuals retain the power of free will choice in regard to the evolutionary path, in regard to evolutionary path biological ascension alignment up until the point of the first full 55 spin speed Death Star activation. At 55 spin speed, and it's a full, when it first starts, it's not full yet. It actually has to go through all of its subharmonics. But at a 55 spin speed, the Death Star Merkaba vehicle forms its internal Metatronic atomic encasement field, begins generating its external thermal field encasement, and initiates Fibonacci death spiral feeding for expansion and acceleration. So it's at that point that the feeder spiral starts, where it starts to suck energy off its local environment and consume it in order to expand. Once it gets to that point, it creates a problem. If it goes fully to that point, then it will rapidly accelerate from 89 to 144 to superluminal into particle crunch and all of that. So this is going to become important later. We'll read this when we get back to see what it does on the personal level, and then as we get toward more toward the end of the reading, we will understand what this has to do with 2012, because a certain level of these things that are part of this master plan agenda are going to take place because they can't be prevented. But there is a point of intervention, and it's because where certain things can be done. So there are certain things that we're going to have to deal with, and that's why the Silver Seed healing technologies are being brought in. Because if our bodies are going to be tripped into this Metatronic activation, 55 activation, we're all just going to get plugged into the broadcast net. We're going to end up with mind control and biological control, and it's going to reverse our entire Merkaba fields and DNA encryption, and we're going to get sucked down into that destiny, whether we like it or not. That's why the beloveds are bringing the other technologies in. Those technologies rely on things that we're going to be doing during this workshop and in our grid work here, because the grid work here is going to begin the process of bringing in something called the what do they call it, the Stardust Silver Seed grid, okay, which is, we'll get into what that is a little bit later. It has to do with the antidote, well, not quite antidote, but it sort of antidote, we'll talk about that later too, of the what is called the artificial, or what's the word, it's artificial is good, artificial Christ consciousness grid, which is a word that is a deceptive term that is used in the New Age movement to talk about the Metatronic geomagnetic field encryption, the encryption harness that is here, the encryption lattice that has been Metatronic. So there is going to be another field created. We have a primary geomagnetic field that will go into Metatronic dominance fully in 2012, but we are also going to build a secondary field that aligns directly and actually is carrying part of the encryption of that higher Earth we've talked about and of median Earth. So it actually creates another set of geomagnetic fields that people that work with the technologies of the Silver Seed Awakening will be able to have that. It will be like having median Earth be what the planetary field that is organizing your encryption for you, instead of the Metatronic one that's progressively activating on the planet. That will stop us on the planetary level from being pushed past. We will start the 55 activation because we can't catch it any sooner, but it will not go into a full 55 activation. So we're going to really annoy them for 200 years because we're going to stall it. They'll start it up, vroom, vroom, like starting a car, and we're just going to kind of like put the brakes on, where it's like this big invisible hand comes down and says, no, you're not moving forward. And it will keep doing its thing, but it's not going to go into full activation. But it's still going to go into partial activation, which will affect our DNA. And that's why it's important to pay attention to our personal BPR, because if we don't, it will simply flip over with what the quantum dominant mass is here, and that will be the Metatronic code. So anyway, I'm going to take a few minute break or whatever for, I think there's coffee out there. Are there coffee out there now? There's cups, yeah. Okay, so maybe, 20 minutes. Okay, I'll catch my wind here so I can breathe. Thank you. Asan's eyes move faster than mine. I'm not too bad when I'm reading, but if I look up or talk about something and then have to go find it, if you probably have noticed, it takes me ages to find where I was to get back to it. So, almost there. Not too many green stickies left.
We're going to continue answering this question.
Yeah. Well, we're going to continue answering this question that's coming, and I'm going to give you the mic, and we'll go from there. So Asan will read for a bit, and there's still some diagrams at the end and a technique.
This will all be done whilst rolling a mint around my mouth too. So we're going to continue with the answer. That's fine.
Yes, and what was the question?
And the question is, what is the core purpose behind the Illuminati master plan prime objective of forcing Earth into Alpha Omega full path alignment in 2012, and how can they achieve this prime objective?
So all that before that you heard was part of the answer to that question.
And we'll repeat the last paragraph, so we'll pick it up. So, this is the recap paragraph. The Metatronic bloom of doom, death science dynamics of the Death Star Merkaba vehicle, described above in relation to the macrocosmic Illuminati master plan prime objective, also apply on a microcosmic level. Individual life forms who engage Death Star Merkaba vehicle activation, either unconsciously through environmental planetary encryption lattice quantum dominance, or consciously through intentional practice of Death Star Merkaba vehicle activation technologies, are aligning with the Death Star full path density. Destiny. Yes. Individuals retain the power of free will choice in regard to evolutionary path biological ascension alignment up until the point of the first full 55 spin speed Death Star activation. At 55 spin speed, the Death Star Merkaba vehicle forms its internal Metatronic atomic encasement field, begins generating its external thermal field encasement, and initiates Fibonacci death spiral feeding for expansion and acceleration. So, on to the next paragraph now. This is fresh. From the Metatronic 55 activation point forward, the atomic encryption lattice and biomagnetic field of the atomic structure become permanently mutated into Metatronic code configuration. Through automatic death spiral feeding that initiates at the Metatronic 55 point, the Death Star Merkaba vehicle will eventually accelerate to superluminal spin speed, resultant permanent Death Star transformation of the biological atomic structure and corresponding permanent full path space dust return evolutionary alignment for the entrapped spirit consciousness. Once an individual life form engages the Metatronic 55 point of Death Star Merkaba vehicle activation, any potentials of genuine, organic, eternal life biological atomic ascension are permanently lost for the current lifetime, but the spirit consciousness can reclaim eternal life ascension abilities through engaging very specific energetic countermeasures. If one desires to prevent or cease Death Star Merkaba vehicle activation, counter strategies of bioregenesis healing, by which progression of Death Star spin speed acceleration can be prevented, halted, or partially reversed, can be utilized while the physical atomic body is still alive. When the physical atomic body has reached its natural death point, if progression of Death Star activation has been sufficiently halted and reversed while the body was living, the embodied spirit consciousness can then be freed into an eternal life ascension re-evolutionary path through intentional application of the specific organic bioenergetic processes inherent to eternal life Bardoa ascension transition.
In other words, if you hit the 55 spin speed, a full one, that you immediately lose the biological ability for ascension, but you can still get out on Bardo when the body would go through its natural death cycle if you Bardo properly, which means cremate it at the end and don't leave parts of yourself stuck in the atomic structure. So and the planet is actually going into that. People are going to hit that 55 activation across the planet. All the life forms are, too, unless the countermeasures are being employed, and that's where our teams come in, because we're going to be bringing in the Silver Seed Awakening healings that will allow for us, first of all, not to get Metatronic with the planet, and we will be able to assist the other kingdoms, like the plant kingdoms and animal kingdoms and that kind of stuff, in small scale compared to how many there are here. But anyway, just thought I'd interject that. Sorry.
Fine by me.
Where were we?
If a being has engaged Death Star Merkaba vehicle activation, either knowingly through practice of death science applications, or unknowingly through quantum dominance override automatically generated by Metatronic coding running within the environmental planetary encryption lattice and geomagnetic field. If no energetic counter strategies are taken, activation of the Death Star Merkaba vehicle and its resultant evolutionary consequence will occur automatically, overriding conscious free will choice to the contrary. Is that a period? Yeah. Merkaba field vortex sets are an ooh. Oh. Merkaba field vortex sets are an inorganic part of the invisible. What?
Organic.
RN.
Yeah, you said inorganic.
Excuse me, I'm a minute across.
Okay.
Merkaba field vortex sets are an
organic part.
Why can't we get
of
past
the
this?
Invisible, multidimensional anatomy.
They are, you see. Merkaba field vortex sets are an organic part of the invisible multidimensional autonomy.
Oh, come on. Just read it, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, they are an organic part of the invisible multidimensional anatomy of all atomic matter structures and biological life forms. So everyone and everything, including planets and stars, have sets of Merkaba fields, whether or not you know they are there or believe it. The organic structure and function of the personal, smaller quantum Merkaba fields is directly and continually affected by the condition of the larger quantum environmental planetary Merkaba fields, encryption lattice, and geomagnetic field. The Merkaba fields, encryption lattice, and biomagnetic fields of individual life forms on a planet will adopt a microscopic copy of the... Oh, well, I'm just having one of those turns. Microscopic copy of the...
Microcosmic copy.
There you are, I told you. The microcosmic copy.
Thank you.
I'm not doing it on purpose, but you think I am, don't you? But I'm not. Of the configurations held within the planetary body. If the dominant quantum of the planetary body Merkaba fields, encryption lattice and geomagnetic field are holding a Metatronic Death Star configuration, this configuration will automatically govern and override the configuration and contours of the personal anatomy, unless direct energetic counter strategies are actively employed. The Illuminati elder races were well aware of this fact of cosmic multidimensional physics as they progressively orchestrated their master plan towards their intended 2012 prime objective fulfillment. When the Alpha Omega Toral Rift 10948 BC time rip fall alignment peak of December 21, 2012 occurs, a dominant 66% quantum averse planetary encryption lattice, Merkaba fields, and geomagnetic field will initiate engagement of the Metatronic 55 activation point. This will create the dominant quantum configuration for the environmental planetary atomic structure and planetary life field. At this December 21, 2012 planetary Metatronic 55 point occurs, as this December 21, 2012 planetary Metatronic 55 point occurs, within 24 hours, the encryption lattices, Merkaba fields, and atomic biomagnetic fields of Earth's atomic matter structure and biological life field will automatically adopt a microcosmic copy of this planetary Metatronic 55 configuration. It is at this point that individuals will need direct energetic counter strategies to first halt and later partially reverse automatic activation of the personal Death Star Merkaba vehicle. It is for this reason, and the reasons to follow, the MCO Crystal River Guardians have been progressively intervening directly and will continue to do so with the 2012 Silver Seed Awakening. At the Metatronic 55 point of the 2012 peak Toral Rift alignment, if the Illuminati elders have their way, a pre-cataclysmic 40-day window of chaos starting from the December 21, 2012 peak Toral Rift alignment and running to about February end 2013 will unfold as the encryption lattice and Merkaba fields of Sun, Earth and populations will engage Fibonacci expansion spin speed acceleration to and beyond full Metatronic 55 activation, and Earth and our solar system will enter a backward time progression toward the center point of the 10948 BC Toral Rift time rip.
Stress if again. This is if they have their way. Okay, we're not going to go this far.
All right. If the 2012 drama progresses this far, during this window of chaos, the geomagnetic fields of both Earth and the Sun will begin progressive pre-shift erratic fluctuation and anomalous behavior with corresponding increase in solar coronal mass ejections, rapid climatic and earth change consequence, and biological populations will engage progressive mental, emotional, and biochemical instability as the epigenetic overlay follows the flux of the planetary geomagnetic field. If this end time scenario unfolds at the end of the 40-day window of chaos, the encryption lattice and Merkaba fields of the Sun, the rest of our solar system, Earth, and its populations will reach critical acceleration to Metatronic Death Star Merkaba 144 spin speed, at which point Earth and parallel Earth and Sun and parallel Sun will first have temporary collapse of their geomagnetic fields and will then initiate, over about 3 to 6 days, rapid cataclysmic geomagnetic field pole shift and geographical crust roll rotation to resume the planetary and solar polar alignments of the 10948 BC period. This 3 to 6 day period will represent the sixth and last extinction of the entire life field of Earth. And from this biological extinction, the Illuminati's quantum harvest of body, soul, and spirit will unfold. As full Toral Rift galactic alignment occurs through pole shift, a glowing red thermal encasement field will form around the personal atomic, planetary and solar system Death Star Merkaba vehicles, and the Death Stars, with their contents, will enter a superluminal state and time jump backward across the organic boundaries of space-time light, passing into center point alignment with the 10948 BC Toral Rift time rip. From this point of time jump forward, Death Star acceleration will rapidly increase until the encryption lattice and matter structure of all contained within the Death Stars shatters and vaporizes through excessive particle acceleration to become a singular quantum field of Metatronic particulate space dust as the solar system Death Star passes through the Alpha Omega wormholes into the fallen parallel Milky Way galaxy alpha system for final Death Star transformation. Once arriving in the alpha system, atomic transformation will complete as the Death Stars and particulate soup decelerate spin speed, and the particles, along with the fragments of consciousness they carry, reform into a mutated, inorganic, non-living facsimile distortion of what they once were. Beings who engage the Death Star transformation, following death of their organic biology, will suffer permanently mutated encryption lattice structure and complete memory wipe, returning to living dead conscious awareness in a biochemical and mental state resembling that characteristic to the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. The transformed living dead life field will find that its original gifts of free will choice and eternal life ascension have been permanently subjugated to the self-proclaimed authority of the Illuminati Elder Alpha Omega false Godhead hierarchy, and the only evolutionary options remaining are those within the de-evolutionary full path of space dust return. The Illuminati four groups that promote the death sciences and bloom of doom paradigms call the process just described above ascension, and have many ascended masters who have engaged the Death Star transformation. In reality of the eternal living cosmos, the process described above is the antithesis of genuine eternal life ascension. It is simply the most rapid method of entering the de-evolutionary path of fall. There are two primary options of experience within the fall path of the Death Star transformation. One option is making peace with one's plight and regaining freedom through the organic process of space dust return to the eternal life source field when your existing quantum is expended. This option can be accomplished only through the direct guardian race intervention efforts and education programs that are periodically extended into fallen black hole quarantine systems. The other option is remaining under the directive of the governing Illuminati hierarchy, who have progressively lost their ability to feel and who sustain their illusion of finite immortality and elitist subjugation by raping, stealing, and vampiring energy from the innocence of living systems and from each other, with no remorse, regret, or mercy. In this option, one simply progressively devolves to become more and more like them. The irony of this latter option is that, due to the eternal laws of action and consequence to action that govern the entire cosmos, fall systems and those within them all eventually meet their end through space dust return, regardless of what is done to prevent this consequence. It is a self-defeating path of progressively diminishing return to space dust fragmentation. Next question. Will this Illuminati Elder 2012 master plan continue to unfold? Answer, yes, but not exactly as the Illuminati tend or envision, due to the continuing efforts of direct intervention by the Guardian Alliance, MCO Guardians, and Crystal River Councils of Aquarion, Adashi Adepts.
Next question. That was a short answer.
Wasn't it? Next question.
They all started that way.
Will Earth experience a sixth mass extinction through the geomagnetic and geographical pole shift that the Illuminati elders intend to initiate in 2012 as part of their prime objective master plan? Answer, no, not in the 2012-2013 period, but due to their dis-ease of supreme arrogance, the Illuminati elder force still thinks so. Through continuing guardian intervention, the rapid geomagnetic pole shift and geographical pole shift crust roll that the Illuminati intend to initiate between October 2012 and February 2013 will not occur as the Illuminati elders plan. The Illuminati agenda requires Earth's planetary Merkaba fields to reach a specific acceleration of Metatronic spin speed in order to fully engage the Alpha-Omega Toral Rift 10948 BC time rip alignment on December 21, 2012 alignment peak. Through Guardian counter strategies that are already in place, Earth's Merkaba fields will not achieve sufficient Metatronic spin speed to progress into full Metatronic 55 activation for full immersion into the Toral Rift time rip. Without full engagement of the Alpha-Omega Toral Rift alignment, Earth's geomagnetic field and thus geographical crust will not engage the rapid pole shift and crust roll that the Illuminati are expecting. Immersion into the Toral Rift time rip and resultant rapid pole shift of Earth and our Sun and Death Star transformation cannot be prevented, but these events will be postponed to the 2230 AD through 2976 AD period by stalling the Death Star activation process in 2012. However, the Metatronic 55 point during the December 21, 2012 Toral Rift alignment peak and the opening of the Solar Time Taurus Tunnel, Toral Rift time rip, and fallen halls of Amenti Stargate sets cannot be prevented or postponed during the 2012 period. These aspects of the Illuminati master plan will unfold. All efforts will be made by the MCO Crystal River Guardians to buffer and postpone for as long as possible the consequences of these 2012 events occurring. End of question?
Yeah.
Is this a new question?
New questions have dots.
Oh, it's not black. Okay.
They're dots.
Yeah. Right. New question. As you probably guessed. Since Earth will avoid the Illuminati Elder planned 2012 mass extinction and rapid pole shift, does this mean that potentials for Earth changes, climate anomalies, and political and economic problems will also be avoided?
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice?
Sadly, no. Though the MCO Guardian efforts can and will prevent the cataclysmic rapid 2012 pole shift and thus corresponding 6 mass extinction, Earth's Templar will continue to remain under a high degree of stress as the planetary Metatronic encryption lattice continues its partial activation through the geomagnetic field net. The MCO Guardian's efforts will slow the progression of the consequences inherent to the Metatronic activations, but there will still be progressive environmental issues of growing tectonic instability, global warming due to Metatronic Templar frequency accelerations, continuing ozone depletion, and increase in solar CME potentials. The contemporary problems of global pollution, species extinction, and loss of sustainable resources will also continue and expand. Are we end there, right?
No, keep going. Okay.
Yeah, okay. The Illuminati human populations will begin a covert stealth division between those who do and those who do not accept amnesty bioregenesis agreements with the MCO Crystal River Guardian races. Illuminati humans who do not accept Guardian agreements will continue the covert advancement of their one world order and Armageddon agendas. This on-planet Illuminati force will continue to control global economic structures and orchestrate financial crashes for mass control at their whim, continue with efforts of select population reduction through ongoing creation of targeted wars, natural disasters and famines, natural, and designer diseases, also natural, through ongoing applications of the Atlantean death sciences, and they will continue efforts to assist their Illuminati elder races in staging direct, overt invasion from parallel Earth once population reduction efforts have reduced the threat of large-scale human resistance. The Illuminati force that does accept MCO Crystal River Amnesty Bioregenesis agreements will quietly and discreetly operate as a counter-force quiet rebellion among the Illuminati loyalists, slowing the progress of the Illuminati master plan agenda at every turn. part of the Illuminati Counterforce Rebellion will adopt a strong sustainability platform focused on better Earth resource management until 2230 AD, while traditional Illuminati loyalists within this platform will push for greater space programs to expand immediate potentials of resource exploitation and in attempt to create a feasible future Fallgate evacuation plan to avoid Earth's coming confrontation with issues of solar CMEs. The speed at which these Illuminati Earth dramas unfold will be determined by how well the Illuminati Rebellion Force causes resistance drag on the forward movement of the Illuminati loyalist agenda, and how well the Human Guardian Force works with the MCO Crystal River Guardians to assist in keeping Earth's tectonic plates as stable as possible. New question. At this point in the hidden final conflict drama, can the Guardians salvage Earth from final encryption lattice alignment with the Toral Rift time rip passive fall and the resultant 2230 through 2976 AD pole shift? Again, sadly, no, due to the degenerative changes that occurred as a result of Illuminati actions within the core stargates of our Sun in 2007. Since this time, Earth salvage has no longer been a viable option. But the Guardians can and will postpone this now inevitable Illuminati master plan scenario and the planetary pole shift and solar CME escalation as this scenario implies for a period of approximately 200 years to about 2230 AD. During this period of 200 years, humans who are still genetically able after the 2012 Metatronic 55-point and corresponding 2012 BPR showdown, and who desire to do so, can engage a program of expedited bioregenesis healing called the Silver Seed Awakening, through which accelerated reverse mutation of the DNA template can occur to allow reclamation of the organic ability of ascension through atomic transfiguration. On a more positive note, or an even more positive note, though the current SAC drama certainly did not unfold as well as it could have, where the drama has led means that Earth's ascension passage stargates, the Aurora Silver Seed gates, and corresponding gate networks will remain open for the next 200 years. This 200-year window will enable humans, both of the angelic and Illuminati human lines, on amnesty contracts who engage the Silver Seed Awakening healing at its initiation in 2012 to heal their atomic biology and encryption lattice sufficiently to engage biological stargate slide ascension into the nearby free worlds and the path of re-evolutionary ascension within which these worlds resides. The period of time from 2007, when the point of no return was reached regarding the solar stargates, to the year 2230 AD is called the cycle of the loadout. It is the final evacuation cycle of not only Earth, but of the falling Milky Way galaxy. After the 2230 AD period, all ascension stargate passages within the Milky Way will permanently close, and the galaxy will enter universal quarantine as a full system on the de-evolutionary path of space dust return. And it is for this reason, and the full-ranging consequences it implies, that the GAMCO Guardians in Crystal River of Aquarion Adashi Adepts have now, with this writing and related public interface, engaged this first installment of their official disclosure protocol. The question, yeah. And another question. During the loadout evacuation cycle 200-year window of open ascension stargates, will anyone who chooses to participate in Silver Seed healing technologies be able to reclaim the ability of atomic transfiguration for physical biological transmigration slide orb ascension to higher Earth? The answer is this is a time-sensitive question. During the Illuminati Alpha Omega Toral Rift time rip alignment peak of December 21, 2012, Certain presently dormant Metatronic Alpha-Omega codes will activate within Earth's encryption lattice, halls of Amenti stargates, and geomagnetic field, initiating the third inorganic time acceleration of Earth's wobble, precession of the equinox cycle, and 2/3 of Earth's encryption lattice. Activation of the Metatronic Alpha-Omega codes will cause the Illuminati broadcast net in Earth's geomagnetic field to partially blend with the corresponding Illuminati net of parallel Earth, which will strengthen our Earth's Illuminati net into an environmental electromagnetic Metatronic time harness within Earth's geomagnetic field. This Metatronic time harness is deceptively referred to within some contemporary death sign teachings as the synthetic Christ consciousness grid in Earth's atmosphere. The activation of the Illuminati net Metatronic time harness in Earth's geomagnetic field will directly affect the DNA and existing biorhythms of all life forms on Earth through the epigenetic overlay. The greater quantum of the planetary Metatronic time harness will override the smaller quantum of the existing encryption lattice, BPR and epigenetic overlay configurations of biological life forms, and of the matter base entrapped within the Metatronic time harness, creating an automatic, environmentally induced inorganic time acceleration, vibration increase, encryption lattice BPR deceleration drop, and corresponding biological atomic co-resonant disharmonic alignment with the Alpha-Omega full path. The Illuminati's 2012 Alpha-Omega time harness, false Christ consciousness grid activation, will engage the atomic biological structure to biochemically ensnare the embodied conscious awareness into the perceptual harness of Illuminati broadcast net transmissions, and will cause the DNA template and encryption lattice to engage Fibonacci spiral expansion of the Metatronic code. Once the Metatronic code engages Fibonacci spiral expansion to the 55 blending ratio within the encryption lattice and creates corresponding Merkaba field 55 speed acceleration, the atomic structure and biological anatomy fall under subjugate dominion of the planetary Metatronic Alpha-Omega time harness. At the point of activation of the Metatronic 55 blending ratio within the encryption lattice and DNA template, any previously existing organic potential for biological passage through genuine ascension stargates is permanently lost through critical mass damage, the encryption lattice, DNA template, chemical DNA, and epigenetic overlay. With activation of the Metatronic 55 blending ratio, the common man blended DNA mutation becomes permanent, and human DNA becomes permanently transformed from that of the original eternal life angelic human species genome into the inorganic finite life genetic imprint of a new Illuminati Leviathan mutant hybrid human full species, predestined to temporary subjugate dominance and eventual intended extermination by the Illuminati elder races to which its mutated encryption lattice is connected. If the consciousness is ensnared within a biology that engages activation of the Metatronic 55 blending ratio, the conscious spirit will become entrapped within the Alpha-Omega fall alignment of the false Christ consciousness grid within Earth's geomagnetic field, even following death of the physical body. No biological life form on Earth will be spared this 2012-2013 environmentally induced biochemical spiritual holocaust and resultant fall past de-evolutionary alignment of the Illuminati master plan, if it were not for the intervention efforts of the MCO Crystal River Guardians. During the Illuminati Alpha-Omega Toro Rift alignment peak of December 21, 2012, winter solstice, the MCEO Crystal River Guardians will synchronize activation of their Silver Seed host grid, called the Stardust Silver Seed Ascension Grid of Eternal Life Crystal Consciousness, with the Illuminati's Metatronic time harness fold false Christ consciousness grid. Activation of the genuine ascension path Stardust grid will engage until 2230 AD, 1/3 of Earth's encryption lattice and BPR into the organic, slow-moving time cycles of the higher Earth Aurora Silver Seed Ascension stargates. There is nothing that the Illuminati force can do to prevent or override the direct intervention of the Guardian Stardust Silver Seed Ascension grid. The Illuminati force will discover the truth of this reality when they find that the cataclysmic pole shift of Earth that they are currently predicting for 2013-2015 does not occur as they plan. The Illuminati Elder Force Alpha Omega False Godhead will also discover around 2976 AD that their master plan prime objective of creating the Death Star black hole universe is also doomed to fail, because in 2976 AD the parallel Milky Way alpha black hole system explodes as an energetic consequence to their own actions, even before the Death Star solar system is created. Eternal life, first creation, has a way of taking care of itself eternally, and this is why the cosmos simply allows. This would be a lesson that Illuminati 4 groups everywhere would do well to learn. That which is eternal remains eternal, and that which is not simply eventually destroys itself. Individuals who make choices that allow their personal encryption lattices to enter co-resonant harmonic alignment with the Guardian Stardust Ascension grid between December 21, 2012 and January 31, 2013 will receive the gift of the Silver Seed Awakening, which will create progressive biological immunity to the Illuminati's environmentally induced automatic Metatronic 55 blending ratio permanent DNA mutation. Those who successfully achieve the Stardust Ascension grid alignment before or during this short window of opportunity will retain existing DNA essential potentials and also receive regenesis of any missing organic encryption lattice DNA template ascension codes, while generating sufficient strength within the personal encryption lattice to withstand environmental Metatronic code quantum override from the planetary geomagnetic field Metatronic time harness. Individuals successfully achieving the Stardust alignment by January 31, 2013 will retain the potential to engage organic atomic transfiguration, physical biological slide orb ascension through the Aurora Silver Seed Ascension gates to the higher Earth territories and beyond. Once the potential for biological ascension is secured through the 2012-2013 Stardust Alignment Silver Seed Awakening, whether or not an individual can fulfill this potential of physical biological ascension will be determined by several factors, which include existing stress damage of the personal organic DNA, the remaining personal biological tolerance levels for atomic transfiguration, and the progressive application of Silver Seed healing bioregenesis activations, as well as sustained stability of Earth's side of the Aurora Silver Seed Ascension gates. With the Stardust alignment, the potentials of biological ascension passage are restored, but even if the restored potentials for personal biological ascension are unable to reach fulfillment for reasons such as those mentioned above, the conscious spirit will still achieve spiritual ascension to higher Earth and beyond through organic Bardoa ascension at the point of biological death. In regard to Bardoa ascension at death transition, the living body before death becomes a vessel of progressive freedom within which DNA template and encryption lattice bioregenesis reverse mutation progressively occurs through Silver Seed healing applications. Attempting to accelerate one's spiritual ascension through acts of suicide can directly interfere with the organic mechanics of spiritual ascension, and so the Freedom Teachings strongly advise against such acts. This short-term December 21, 2012 to January 31, 2013 window of opportunity for accelerated DNA template bioregenesis reverse mutation to the Stardust Silverseed alignment is available to all contemporary Earth humans, with the exception of those who have already engaged the Metatronic 55 blending ratio permanent DNA mutation. Very few members of the contemporary Illuminati human race, and no members of the angelic human race, have currently engaged the Metatronic 55 blending ratio DNA and encryption lattice mutation. Only individuals who have experienced full biological atomic Death Star Merkaba vehicle transit through Metatronic wormholes via conscious intentional use of the Death Star Merkaba vehicle, or individuals who have directly personally participated in Death Science time rip experiments such as the Montauk Project, will have already engaged the associated Metatronic 55 permanent DNA mutation. So, like contemporary Earth angelic human collectives, most Earth Illuminati human collectives are still able to achieve the potential physical, biological Slider orb ascension freedoms offered in the Guardian Stardust Silverseed alignment. Engagement with the Stardust Silverseed Ascension alignment can be accessed by Illuminati humans through amnesty host contracts with the transdimensional MCEO Crystal River councils and practice of the Silverseed healing technologies that will be progressively introduced in the MCEO Freedom Teachings. After the Stardust alignment window of opportunity closes on January 31, 2013, both angelic human and Illuminati human populations that have not achieved Stardust alignment will biologically engage the automatic Metatronic 55 blending ratio mutation from the planetary geomagnetic field, and from this point forward will become permanently unable to regain physical, biological Slider orb ascension potentials. But individuals who do not achieve the Stardust alignment by January 31, 2013 can still, throughout the loadout evacuation last ascension cycle 200-year window of open ascension stargates, engage Crystal River hosted conscious spirit Bardoa ascension Stardust alignment through application of Silverseed healing technologies and amnesty host contracts with the Guardians. Achieving Bardoa ascension Stardust alignment and gaining freedom from the Metatronic time harness false Christ consciousness grid in Earth's geomagnetic field, with its corresponding biochemical perceptual harness, will become progressively more difficult, but not impossible, following 2013 end. Individuals who achieve the Stardust alignment by January 31, 2013 will automatically genetically pass on the biological essential potentials they receive to any offspring conceived during or after the 2012-2013 window of opportunity, and will also automatically pass on through the parental DNA etheric template link the biological essential potentials to any children previously birthed who are of or under the age of 33. Activation of the retro-inherited biological ascension potentials within previously birthed offspring will occur only if the higher self of the individual child engages this activation through free will choice.
They just added some.
Yep.
It can also be. It could also. They're just letting me know this now, that also through that etheric link between the DNA, it can also be to full siblings and parents as well, that you would be able to. But it would be just like the one, like up to the age of 33, you can send the activation, but it's still their own higher self level has, you know, the right to choose. But when they're younger ones, if they came in, like if you got pregnant after you did it, that's an agreement right there. You know, they came in with that alignment, so you have every right to, you know, work with them with it and stuff. So, but they just they didn't put that in their writing yet, but they were just letting me know now. So, you know, full siblings and also parents can, you know, you can run the DNA activation to them. Yeah. Okay. Pardon me, I'm just falling asleep.
That's
in the
fine.
chair.
Pardon?
Parents who are deceased also. Up to age
Ooh.
33, right?
Well, as far as parents, that's a good question. I'll have to ask. Somebody just asked parents who are deceased also. That's a good question because they're still floating about somewhere, around here. I keep finding my father and my grandmother will let me talk to him, but they're saying it's a little bit more complex in that regard. Yeah. It depends on where they are, but there's more to it. That has to do with like more heavy way showers training, where you learn how to go back and forth between the dimensions yourself, and you work with a team to go in when once the body is not here anymore. Yeah, so I think it's possible, but it's usually not assigned to the ground crew, that kind of intervention. But you can put send a note up to the beloveds, just would you mind? Here's her name, and send an image of the face of the person, that kind of thing. Okay.
Or have a go without exposing yourself.
Does this include grandchildren? Is that not?
Good question.
Grandparents would
Right. They're saying in regard to that, each generation away from your immediate gene code, the weaker it will, the activation will be. You wouldn't be able to pass the whole thing. But say if you passed it to your mother, she could pass it to her mother, and that kind of thing. Right, so if you can, it's that kind of relationship. So you can still pass it, but it's not as strong, right? On that kind of thing. And again, it would always be, since you're not the primary caregiver of that person who came in with a soul contract for you, it would still be under the, you can send the activation, but whether or not it will be accepted is completely up to the being on its multiple identity levels. Okay. Is anybody as tired as I am? I don't think I've ever yawned through a workshop.
Anybody says no, you turn fibs.
Yeah.
And
getting close to
my 2
24
cents to
hours
the
out now.
questions, that the 3 different questions, and in similar situation, would always be the same. And some of you heard me say it before. With loving integrity to the forefront, when you have a gift of the Christ available to share, and being sensible as regards any forms of exposure, adventurism, risk, madness, and cavalier behavior, you would make the offer, always, right? Unconditionally. Pardon?
I just chuckling.
I just
There's
wanted
a
to-
cavalier behavior.
I know. I was going to do that, but I
Just
knew
halfway.
you'd see the etheric finger.
That's my word.
No. Anyway, that belongs to yesterday. Thank you. But you get the message. Really, the whole kind of self-starting idea of what you're capable of, you're coming to it from the right position, right? One of the things about it is it would be unconditional, wouldn't it? But you'd give it your best shot, totally, just because you can, and you do it in a protected, sensible way, with integrity to the fore, like I said, and you do your damnedest, right? And what more can you do but that? And it's absolutely clear paths for you, as long as you remember those simple things, whether it's this or some other thing like it. Okay?
Can I interject before we
Continue.
get back? Before we get back into, there's not hardly anything left, thank goodness, on that, because I'm actually falling asleep in my chair. It's almost 24 hours straight up at this point, and that was with just the little nappy type sleeps I've been taking for almost a month now. Because of my tired level, the beloveds are saying that as far as a technique, we will do that tomorrow, because I have to run Shield when they run them live, and it would be a disservice to you for me to run that when I'm this exhausted. But what I can do when we're finished with the reading, I will go through just a couple. There's not a lot of diagrams there anyway, but we'll touch on so you see where the encryption lattice is located in the anatomy. So we will start with at least where you have that information. And I don't know if you'll have any experiences with it, but I remember before we had this writing, I woke up the one morning, and it's one of those slow wake-ups where I'm aware here, I'm very aware here, and I'm aware that I'm coming back here, and it's kind of like slowly come back, and somewhere in between the two places of being asleep over here and being awake here, and I could see this thing around me. And it really bugged me. It was like a sphere around me, but it seemed pretty close in, like not some of the larger fields we're used to. And it was all just nasty, mucky-looking stuff.
Talking about me trying to wake you up.
No. Right. And it reminded me of, I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures from the Geographical Survey people who take, I don't know what they are, readings of the magnetic fields where they're all kind of like swishy, strange things that keep moving. And, they're not just the regular shaped ones like you see around a magnet. They're all these kind of like puddling, moving things. And it was like that, but I was like on the inside of it. And I was going, what is that? Right? I was like, get off. And I was moving it, and it would move actually when I touched it. And at this point I'm like awake and I'm still seeing it and going, oh, yuck. Yeah, get off. What is that? And I learned to do this thing, like I would try to go to sleep the next night or whatever, and I would still be aware of it. Like once I was aware of it, I always was aware of it. I knew it was there, and it didn't feel right. It's like, what? Get that off my anatomy, whatever it is. And I had this technique where they didn't teach me how to do it. Something kicked in that I knew how to do it, where I would just push up when I try to like project out to go to Arishmataya or whatever. Before I do that, I'd actually push and clear it as if I was clearing muck away, and then project out through it. So you can do this kind of dive upward and like get as if you're diving up through like a net of monkey stuff, and it works, and you can project better. I think these are coming into perception at this point because they are progressively activating now. It's not just in 2012. They are progressively doing the build-up activations to that, all the time. The 999 thing, that actually worked for our benefit as well. But that was one of the Metatronic activations. So anyway, I thought I'd share with you a little bit about my first experience with what I came to learn was the encryption lattice. And it is a sphere-shaped thing, and it is in the field in a very specific place. And because with our light body fields we have many layers to them, we have numerous dimensional layers of this too. But there are certain control ones. And before the end of tonight, after Asan finishes the reading, I will just put up the couple of diagrams that pertain to seeing where in the field it is. And then there's this one very interesting chart. I don't know how I got that done, but I actually did, because it was like 15 minutes before I had to come down. But it shows the alignments of various things, so you can spot which ones are the control fields for what part of the multidimensional anatomy. And that's where we're going to be picking up with tomorrow anyway, is okay, now that you know where they are, what do we do with them, and how do we get them calibrated to the geomagnetic fields of higher Earth and median Earth, and get them decalibrated from the geomagnetic fields here to the degree that we can still walk around here, but we won't get suckered into the Metatronic fall thing. So anyway, that was, I'll return you here, but I just let you know, as far as the technique, I wouldn't even do you this disservice. I can hardly talk, if you haven't noticed. I've been up so long and I am so exhausted. So I wouldn't do you the disservice of trying to run that, because it is a live wave. If it was a reading one, I'd just let Asan run it, but it's not. It's one that comes through live, and I have to be able to be awake and hold. It's like a wave that comes through. So anyway, back to you, my darling. Thank you.
I think you should let me talk, because it makes you be more awake.
Yeah, excuse me, because you're reading it, I'm going,
Yeah.
I had a really bad case of the yawns there.
Okay, we need that. So we've just got the final paragraph of this answer, and then we're done with the questions.
Then there's those.
I know, but these aren't questions, though.
I know.
Right? So, closing this question, final paragraph. So the answer to the question of who will have the opportunity to reclaim biological slide orb ascension potential within the loadout last ascension cycle 200-year window of open ascension stargates is time sensitive in relation to the December 21st, 2012, January 31st, 2013 window of opportunity for Stardust Silver Seed alignment. In simple terms, those are both angelic human and Illuminati human gene lines who do not achieve Stardust alignment by the January 31, 2013 close of the window of opportunity forfeit physical, biological, slide orb ascension potential due to the automatic, environmentally induced Metatronic alpha-omega alignment DNA quantum override that will occur through Earth's geomagnetic field. But conscious spirit Bardoa ascension potential can be regained with progressively greater difficulty after the window of opportunity closes through Guardian Amnesty host contracts and Silver Seed healing applications. So, end of question and answer.
I think there's more questions.
No,
Oh,
wait,
good, that's not-
this is,
Great. Good.
yeah,
Yeah, we're moving into the wrap-up now.
so this is it, yeah. So then, this is wrapping up this section. No more questions and answers now, though. Though the dispensations of the CDT plates and the GA MCO Guardians may reveal realities that most contemporary Earth humans just do not want to hear about, these revelations nonetheless are made as a gesture of the Guardians' love for humanity and of their enduring commitment to seeing us through to the end, while holding for us the living potentials of our re-evolutionary vision of eternal life ascension that we had long ago forgotten. What might this end that the Guardians are seeing us through look like? Here's a question. Damn. The immediate answer to this question has yet to be decided. For this decision will be made through the realities of personal and planetary encryption lattice BPR alignment, especially as we move through the period of 2012 BPR showdown and Illuminati Metatronic 55 point and Alpha Omega Taural Rift fall alignment peak of December 21, 2012. The 2012 BPR showdown is not a showdown over planetary Templar control for the alignment paths of Earth's encryption lattice BPR, and thus the immediate planetary energetic consequences have already been determined. Fulfillment of the Illuminati's Death Star activation, and thus the sixth extinction, will be stalled and postponed, and our solar system will not be drawn into the 10948 BC Taural Rift time rip until the 2230-2976 AD period due to the MCO Crystal River Guardian's intervention. The Metatronic 55-point acceleration will, however, control the primary geomagnetic fields of Earth and the Sun from December 21, 2012 forward, and will thus automatically control the quantum dominance, the encryption lattice BPR of Earth's life field and matter base, unless conscious energetic counter strategies are progressively personally applied. The 2012 BPR showdown is a personal BPR showdown through which the use of individual free will choice will determine which aspect of the now preset planetary evolutionary path alignment and the corresponding realities in consequence that each individual will experientially encounter. May we all make our choices well, for this time is the end game, and we will each exist within the energetic consequence of our contemporary choices for a very long time to come. The MCO Crystal River Guardians will also extend Silver Seed Healing Ascension Alignment opportunities to various plant, animal, crystal and elemental species whose encryption lattices are capable of engaging this alignment. Earth humans who choose Ascension alignment through personal Silver Seed healing will be instrumental in extending this healing opportunity to the other kingdoms of Earth's life field. For these humans will be the only force residing on the planet possessing an encryption lattice through which the Ascension alignment can be anchored on Earth and thus made accessible to Earth's extended life field. The path of rise, re-evolutionary stardust ascension return, or the path of fall, de-evolutionary space dust return. The choice belongs to each and every human presently alive on Earth. The hidden energetic realities of the contemporary planet and galactic big picture drama will ensure, through the cosmic law of cause, effect and consequence, that this human evolutionary choice is made, whether or not we are ready. The Guardians are not here to save us. No one can save us from the energy consequences resulting from our current and historical use of free will choice. The most the Guardians can do is to temporarily buffer us from the full brunt of our collective planetary consequences and return to us the knowledge of how we, as individuals, can choose to save ourselves. The current planetary drama is challenging us individually and as a common race of man to become the change we would like to see in the world, as this idea was so eloquently phrased by Gandhi. We can still change our personal destiny and change our personal relationship to the path of full return, with which the planet is now aligned, by choosing to change ourselves. The part of ourselves that most needs changing is not so much the external ideological associations we choose to hold, but rather the underlying reality of energy frequency vibration held within our personal encryption lattices, which lie beneath our consciousness and our biological atomic form. For the last 10 years, the GA-MCEO have been providing us with the MCO Freedom Teachings and CDT plate translations, precisely so we may empower ourselves to make this internal change and literally shift the BPR of our personal encryption lattices out of the planetary Metatronic 55 full alignment. If the desire to do so is our free will choice, they have offered us the opportunity to become our own saviors and to reclaim our original birthright of eternal life ascension, and fortunately have cared enough and intervened in the planetary drama sufficiently enough to buy us some much needed evolutionary time. Before we can become orbing ascension sliders, we need first to become shifters. Through consciously shifting our morphogenetic field encryption lattice BPR, and thus our biological atomic biorhythms, out of the current planetary Metatronic 55-point Toral Rift full path alignment and into co-resonant alignment with the ascension path of the Stardust alignment and the Silver Seed awakening. Between October 2009 now and December 2012, the MCEO Freedom Teachings will progressively focus upon the study of healing the personal encryption lattice in preparation for the 2012 Mass BPR Showdown and the Silver Seed Awakening. Humanity is welcome to join us in this journey of healing and freedom. Sometimes the truth really is stranger, or at least much more complex than fiction. What has been described in this writing is the reality of what is occurring behind the scenes on this planet. The reality of this drama will move forward with or without humanity's acknowledgement or even consent. We can engage our planetary reality through conscious knowing or unconscious unknowing. Both are choices, and individually we will experience the energetic consequence of our choice. May the sun warm your shoulders, may the wind be at your back, and may you choose to ride the rising tide of stardust in a joyous, loving eternity. Signed off with love, light, and awareness, and a sprinkling of stardust by Sleeping Speaker One.
Thanks. Them beginning to feel like Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet. Except I'm not allowed to trance. Okay, I'm going to move now. Excuse me. This I've never been this tired on stage before. Yeah. I am. I was pooped when I went out for break. Anyway, let's see. At least, well, yes, please. I just want to find which ones, though. Because these are just doing what we're doing before. I'll do that one. Do those tomorrow. Yeah. I'll do the first ones and the last ones. Yeah, I'll do. That.
Is that the going on?
Hmm?
Is that the going to the... Is that the part of
These
the
are going,
right.
yes. Starting with that one, please. that one. Then Merkaba. Yeah, I think that's how they go. Yeah.
Three.
Yeah.
Starting with this
Actually,
one.
wait a minute, this one,
Starting here or here?
starting here. But this one is the last one. There you go.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Now we will find out where exactly is this encryption lattice. And before we discover our encryption lattice, I'm just going to show you something for a moment, which is a diagram that someone, not me, has done of the synthetic Christ consciousness grid around the planet, so you have an idea of what some of these structures look like. And this one is an etheric one. It's actually a D4 one, a D4 etheric. Yeah, yeah, that's good. I'm just going to leave that briefly. But this is the artificial Christ consciousness grid. It's an etheric construct that is controlling the geomagnetic fields on the planet. And we have the same configurations, and including, there's also other geometries that are in this. We looked at those when we dealt with Shona fields a long time ago with some of the other geometries that fit within this structure. But this particular grid is the false Christ consciousness grid that is part of the Megatronic machine that's meant to harness us and take us in. This is what's going to be activating to a 55 pulse, which will create the 55 spin activations in the Merkaba fields. Okay, next one, please. And on a more cheerful note, we're going to build one too, and it starts with this workshop. So I'm not sure if it's coming in tomorrow, parts of it probably will, but something, once we get down in the region, well, it was supposed to be Skellig Michael, but in that region, when we are there, we are going to birth in another one. There's going to be a secondary grid that is the Stardust grid. And that grid is the one that will directly connect into the geomagnetic fields of, first, what they're calling higher Earth, which are actually some of the planes of net Earth that didn't get netted, and that connects into median Earth, which is the next layer out when we're talking about the vertical maps, okay, that we've dealt with before. So we're going to be anchoring the beginning of that formation. I don't know what it's going to look like, what its geometries are going to look like, but I keep getting that it doesn't have all those kind of hard lines to it. It seems to just be spherical. What I keep seeing is a sphere, but I think it has lines, perhaps, like some of the radial body structures we learned about in Cathara 2-3. So anyway, we're going to be the lucky ones to get to anchor that first, which means we will catch the strongest anchoring wave of it, so that will begin in our own fields as well. And it is literally a matrix that our biology can transfer its association with, so it doesn't get dragged in to activation of the artificial Christ consciousness grid. So there's a lot of activation stuff happening in this workshop, and somewhere in there I need to sleep so I can run it into the, because it kind of comes through in a wave. Everybody runs it, but there's a certain line that comes through, and the words come on it often that my body's responsible for transmitting out, and I just can't be too exhausted to do that. So anyway, this is an old diagram that we're studying Merkaba fields and the shapes of them and the proper spins of them. I just brought this one up so we could look at this in relation to the structure of the radial body that goes with Merkaba fields. Now these are part of light body structure, and the Merkaba fields go with the light body structure in a radial body structure. Now we have dimensional ones, and then we have the larger ones, density level ones around us. You have at the center, you have what's called the Miage field, which is a magnetic field. You have around that what's called the Trion light field, and then you have around that what's called the Rayon void field. We've gone into those heavily. I think they're in K23. And then the primal light parameter field around it. The reason I wanted to show you these is because where the encryption lattice actually lives, it is part of this light body structure. It is like a skin on, like a full skin layer, thin layer of skin, energetic skin, over the Miage field. So everywhere we have that Miage field structure in our light body structure, that is where we have one of these encryption lattices. And they have different configurations, and they're constantly moving. They're like the geomagnetic field maps you see of the planet. All sorts of configurations coming and going and moving. They, over here, they actually, on this side of the Ettore side, they actually are just vibrational patterns, but they actually can be seen. They're visible when viewed from the Adore side, which we've talked about before as far as the spins, the Ettore and the Adore universe. We're in the Ettore right now. So these are, well, I'm sure at some point we're going to be taught some kind of technologies to again go over and be able to see them from the Adore side, so we can see the visuals on them and start moving with those. These also directly connect in, I'm just getting this now, from the to the chakras, and they actually control whatever the encryption is. This is new, and literally, as if this, say this one Miage field had that skin of the encryption lattice, well, the chakras also have in their little seals, the little seed seals and star crystal seals and seed crystal seals, they actually have the same micro version of that. And so okay, there's one around every one of our atoms as well, and around all the subatomic particles in our atoms, like our quarks and those kind of things. So there's literally spheres with these encryptions that are held in, you know, the micro places and large ones as well. So when the little fluffy part is just to make the distinction between the Miage field and the other ones with straight lines. So that's where it is in relation to light body structure. When we talk about light body structure, it was kind of interesting in Sliders 5 workshop, because we learned that our atoms are actually in the wrong place, where they should be at a different angle, because light body structure should be at one angle, and 15 degrees away from that is where the atomic body, or the AVS body structure should be. And in this mutation, our atoms have actually been dragged over and forced into phase lock with the light body structure, and that is inorganic. That is being held in by the particular encryption the encryption lattices. So we started in Sliders 5 to begin to loosen that. We started what was called the stardust flow, or the Eron flow, where we created literally an atomic mirror. By bringing certain frequencies in through the AVS body, we're able to create, go into the Metatronic mutation that's actually holding our fields in the wrong place, and begin to unwind it by joining it and then reversing it. So it reversed our natural currents, so we brought in a current to reverse them back. So it was like a mirror effect. So they called it the atomic mirror. There's going to be a large version of this done in 2012. So it's called the mirror in the sky, where we're going to create a similar effect that will allow for the stalling for 200 years on their Merkaba activation. So anyway, as far as this goes, these structures, when I can look at the next one, please. In simple terms of understanding our basic bodies, this is just showing the embedded levels. We have our D1 body, our D2 body, our D3 body, and our density 1 body. And this would imply the Cathara grids, the embedded Cathara grids that go with them. But I just took those off so you could see more of what's happening with the fields and things. And these just indicate where the Cathara grid top would be like, where is it, up here, like this. These are just part of the Christ star vehicles, where it shows you the big one, like the lines of the Christ star vehicle, just to show you that that's there. But it's these fields in here. This is where the Miage fields would be. So we had to find the Miage fields for each of the dimensional levels first. And then there's also this other thing. I started to notice a pattern, then it dawned on me it was connected to things we learned in Sliders 5, where this one said D1 Rayon field, right? D3 Miage field, which means D3 encryption field, right? Encryption lattice is on the D3 Miage field. So there's a correspondence between them, and so I was able to get them going all the way up all the way up and down the dimensional scale. This is showing in relation to our D2 body. This little one here, not the tiniest, but the second one up. That's our D2 physical telluric body, and this is the one I was seeing, right? It was like around me here, and I was trying to get it off me and move the swirls away so I could get my consciousness out. That would be, if this is my D2 body, it was this one that I was seeing around me. Okay, there's a larger one that expands out further in your field, and then there's this one out here The correspondences are interesting. This one is the density 1 rayon field, right? It's actually the D5, the lattice for the D5. So there's a chart that I will show you. I can't believe I got this done because I'm not a fast typist, but I just learned how to do proper columns. So it went faster than I was afraid it might not. So it did. This, and we'll get more into this, is actually showing you. Now this is the VS atomic body. When you see the VS body, that is where the atoms are supposed to materialize within. And that also is connected to what's called your mana body. Then you have the light body structure. That's supposed to be, its angular rotation of particle spin is supposed to be 15 degrees different from that. Right now we're actually aligned, our atoms are actually aligned with our light body. Our atoms should be over here. And they're not. But we're moving that way because once we get all of our atoms over there, we won't be seeing this. We will be seeing the first levels of higher Earth, and because that would be on the natural axis for that. So learning about the encryption, encryption lattices is going to give us more power to be able to free ourselves and our atoms from these harnesses. And it's like now is the best time, because in 2012 we will have preparation for this. We may be able, I think, that if we work with this enough before the fact, it will actually build an immunity to the activation anyway. But if it doesn't, if we activate the Silver Seed Awakening in 2012, if that's the only option left, it will still kick it out of reverse. So it will, the magnetic fields will hit our fields, and then this will counter that and drag them back in, so we won't have to go through the Metatronic activations. So there's a lot we're going to learn about the encryption lattices, because this is where, getting one step closer again to returning the power of direct materialization or manifestation. It's this field that when we send a thought out to the cosmos, that we're hoping will meet us with a like encryption and bring it back in our hologram so we can see it. It still doesn't work as it does when our systems are fully in natural acoustic order. But as we work with these, we'll be able to actually create things once we clear them and get that secondary the stardust grid, or the real consciousness grid that we are going to put in on each level. It will be on the one with the circles. There will be ones inside of us and around us, around our atoms, around the parts of our atoms. It will literally give a second grid instead of the Metatronic one that can progressively activate, to stop the other from activating and to progressively move us into that freedom of the higher planes of Earth first, and then into higher spaces like median Earth that we've talked about and those kind of things. These are just some of the interesting points. Now, this would be our atomic bodies, right? So if we wanted to say, we wanted to find the atoms that our physical self that we can poke are made of, right? That would be the D2 physical atoms, right? These, if you draw these as spheres, right? The spheres for that portion, those portions of the bodies, you have the D2 telluric body, right? It actually aligns up with, because these are actually so much, the light field that's called the mana field that goes with these of AS are actually, it's supposed to be AVS and AS. They're actually the size of the next one up. So this is part of the light body structure, right? So you have the D2 physical body is supposed to bond in with the D3 atomic body, right? And what this is connected to, and if you drew them, they'd all be the same size circle in the diagrams and in the same place. This one is the D4 etheric meage field and encryption lattice. So the encryption lattice is what controls and sets the pattern for the other spheres it's connected to. So what controls the part of the IS body that forms the atomic structure is connected to the D3, which is the mental plane and the light body. But it's over here. This is the physical control. So if we want to begin to directly interface with how to fix something on the physical level, this is the encryption lattice that we would work with. Now, if we want to create larger changes, we go to the density level ones, right? The density 2, these are catheric. And notice each one of them has, if you have D4 is etheric, just like D1, D2, and D3 is the same thing, D4, D5, and D6. You have etheric, telluric, and atmic, and then catheric in between them. So different kinds of energy. So they're just beginning to show us these alignments, but it's giving us a key to, if we want to begin to work directly, and they're going to show us more of how to work directly with the encryption lattices, that we can say, okay, I want to fix something on the D2 level, so that means you go to the D4 Miage field level, which is where the encryption lattice is that controls the D2 Telluric and the D3 Atmic. Right, so you can find these things if we want to work with healing the atomic structure of which our mind is made out of, our mental planes here in the atomic level. That would be connected to the density 1 catheric field. That would be the D5 telluric field, which is the D5 Miage field. And that's the encryption. The D5 encryption controls the D3 atmic level of the mental body here around us. So there's all of these connections that are progressively going to give us the power. And I know they're going to be giving us like symbols and things. I don't know if they'll do that in this workshop, but certain symbols, certain tones, everything we think, do, or interact with creates a vibration and thus an encryption image within this sphere. So once we have the new stardust grid created there, where we're creating with Christic frequencies instead of being overrun by the false Christ consciousness grid that's from the Metatronic ones, then we will be taught how to specifically work with healing, work with manifesting, and probably at some point by 2012 have a pretty strong manifesting crew together to make sure we manifest the intervention levels hold. Because, well, we won't worry about it much if they don't, because we're not going to be around to talk about it. But they said they will, that's, that they're holding that vision for us, even if we, messed up on that. It's not going to roll in 2012. But I'm excited about what they're teaching here, because it's where you can find the keys. Okay, where in my field do I put what? Right? In order to heal this. If I want to heal down here, if I want to heal mental body, if I want to get myself out in ascension, what codes do I put where? Right? Okay, so this is the beginning of the information on the encryption lattices. And this is where I was going to get to. I was just going to recap a little bit of what we had gone through in Sliders 5. We can do that integrating with tomorrow evening's program. It's going to be tomorrow evening, I can tell, because I got to get a couple hours sleep before I find out what diagrams do I have to do, what typesetting do I have to do, because I think I have to finish summary 1 to get the last bit of information that we're supposed to go into. There's something else I wanted to say. Let me think. What was it? Oh, it's important. It'll come back. If it isn't, it won't. Right, there's something about these. Never mind. Oh well, yeah, when I'm tired, I'm just like, gone. Anyway. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Okay. There's one thing, even though we won't run the second technique tonight, we'll do it tomorrow with the others. There is an image that you can use in it. And just imagine yourself as your bud self, like the bud of a flower, your Buddha self, right? And imagine that you're sitting in, ooh, that's close. Who brought that? Close, look at this, I love it. I was going to say, I have one of these things at home, but I don't have it with me. It's very close to this, but they're more petal-shaped. I don't know whose this is, but imagine this a little bit more opened, right? And imagine that it's a 48-point crystal lotus that your Buddha is sitting in. And imagine that your Christ Star vehicle is around that. And it's a next level up of the Christ Star vehicle. It has to do with the 48 coding of the 48 strands. So it looks kind of like that, but they're more Akasha-shaped petals. The one I have at home is like, Akasha-shaped petals. But this gives you the idea. And imagine you're the Buddha, so your Buddha self sitting in the middle of that. And you use that in projections, and it has all sorts of keys in it because of the 48 petals. So we were going to use that in that image in the technique. So you can start playing with that if you want to. Like send yourself out on your little crystal lotus when you go to sleep or something, and see where you go. It'll keep you safe. Right? But that's neat. That's really funny. Somebody materialized that there. Must have been catching the wave. Right? Right, so that's the last thing I wanted to touch on for now. And I don't know how long we've been going this evening, but it feels like I've been going for 45 years at this point, which I have, actually. I just turned 45 this year. That was a slip, too. It's 4 o'clock in the morning? Okay, yeah. Well, 4 o'clock in the morning, that's a good time, I think, to go to bed or have breakfast, one or the other. Thank you for your patience with the time, and we'll see you tomorrow evening about 7. Okay? Have a good day's sleep, please.
We should actually take pictures on the way out, if it's being recorded.
As the coronation stone of the kings of Munster, so it was where they were knighted. Also, underneath this large stone, in the original cross, there is actually a mirror underneath. This mirror is actually reflecting a hollow inside in this large stone. It is believed that in times of invasion, they would have lifted this large stone up and hidden artifacts underneath, like chalices, scriptures, silver and gold. Then in the 12th century, this was added, the cross itself. It's not a traditional Celtic cross with the big wheels around the top. This cross is in fact in Latin style. The gentleman that is here on this side is believed to be the clothed version of the crucifixion of Christ. And at the opposite side, there is another gentleman wearing a cloak also, and this is said to be representing St. Patrick himself. Now the pillar that is here, there would have been another one at this side. Or what look like large windows, but they're not. This is called blind arcading, just the style of architecture. Another Romanesque feature on the chapel is over the doorway here, and this is a tympanum. Any of you like to try and pick it out? More than one. Here we go. It looks like a rhinoceros, or a little codfish, it does. Now, this is actually believed to be a lion or a lion creation, and the form preserved to the back wall itself of the chapel. And you can see in the back wall the altar is extremely small. Here in the North Tower, see the tower here. Now, in the North Tower, this was used as a side chapel. But in the South Tower, behind this doorway here, lies the oldest stone spiral staircase in Ireland, which leads up to a room that is upstairs. There is another room above us, and this was used as a scriptorium. Now, just over my own head here, you can see there's an archway. Did anybody notice anything unusual about this archway? Exactly, it's completely off-centre with the chapel. Now, how or why would they have got this wrong?
Mike's restoration has become one. Your what? Mike's restoration. To get it to this.
Those candles suck. We had a giant window we weren't lit and the wedge kept falling in the back and going out. So I was trying to get the look at all the money.
Make a wish.
Okay, Ireland's in better financial shape than they thought. Look at all that money.
Oh, I'm going to say this is good.
You should be where I am.
It's because of that and happy birthday.
Getting that armor thyroid.
I always pop out and grab the camera people.
Let's just look at the stone and then keep on looking and go back.
Did he get a picture of himself?
Guys, the whole thing is beautiful.
This is the stone.
This is a plain diamond. That's crazy. That's Owen. Because Nate, the soccer player.
Okay, so I do it.
I'm looking at the blind stuff right now. I see people
This is blind kind of.
Did you get that one?
Hey, Mom, that thing's safe to to get to the top of the hundred.
What caves?
5:15. It's 5:15 now.
Yes, you could. 5:15 then? You did it. Of course.
Oh, yes. Good people at home to see.
Wow. We had a lot of facts. Yeah.
Right, guys, you'll have to move it up this way. All right.
Bottom one. Hold the bars. Watch your head and slide down, okay? Where you all from? Are you on the ship or something? Are you on the cruise liner? Alright. Lay back now, no. Lay down now. You go behind you, okay? Keep in front of you there.
Wasn't she told?
Watch your head, okay? Right, who's next here, lads? Anybody, please? Yeah, the bottom rock here, the last 6 inches of the wall.
Did you get that? What is that? That's as far as I can see.
Anybody else?
That's kind of scary.
What else? He's coming through the wall, is he?
It's a little scary because you're kind of leaning. So this is the only brave one. Here's the party stuff. I'm really cold. Hello. Smile for the camera. Hi.
I feel like that movie, The Holy Grail, Monty Python.
Vamos por lá.
Visit to the Blarney Stone and things like that. It was. I will tell you a little story since the last time I saw you.
Did they hang out there? Did they hang out there?
Did anybody hang upside down and kiss the Blarney Stone?
Go to the back
love
of the
it.
class.
Well, somebody had to do it.
That's what they put it there for.
The kiss of Christ.
No?
The kiss of Christ.
Don't look at me. So you're going to tell me something? Sorry, go on, darling.
Sure. Anyway, since I last saw you, it was interesting when we were trying to figure the schedule for this trip. I'm looking at that large-houred workshop at the front of the trip, and I'm going, Because usually, most of the information, the wave starts to come in, and then it builds toward the end, and the big stuff comes in at the end. So we were just trying to accommodate whatever the hotel arrangements were and all of that. So it didn't surprise me when that just went out the window, and that's what happened. That night that I last saw you, whenever it was, because at this point, it's like they all blend into one long day and night. It was really funny. I was so tired while on stage. You probably saw me. I'm like trying not to yawn and that kind of stuff while Asan was reading. Well, got back upstairs. Everything ached. And I was even too tired to just like take a bath to make the aches go away. So I had a cup of coffee. That woke me up enough to take a bath. I fell asleep in the bathtub for about a half hour. And that was enough. That was just enough. Water started to get chilly. It's like, okay, alarm clock. Woke up. I wasn't planning to sleep in the bathtub, but woke up after about a half hour. And for some reason, that kept me going. I didn't go to sleep till noon that day, and I went for a couple hours at noon, but they had me on a diagram sequence. So yes, there were diagrams, but it was like, great, what's the program, beloveds? Like, would you mind giving me a clue so I know what I'm teaching, right? We're driving down on the bus thing today. Going, okay, beloveds, got a pen, got the paper ready, anytime, you're ready, they're not saying anything. And I'm going, great, we're going to get there. What am I teaching tonight, right? About an hour ago. Got that, right? And I feel much better now because I know what we're teaching tonight and how that fits in with the rest of the things we're going to be doing. So tonight, basically, the things that we're going to cover have to do with tomorrow. Because tomorrow, when we go on the site thing, now the site we're going to see isn't ideally where we would be, because it would have been nice if we could have gone out to Skellig Michael, except we were a bit worried about more tourists falling off the edge and getting killed, and because that would not be great, especially with a lot of people, and I guess it was a long hike and that kind of stuff. But we were willing to do it. Yeah, but the government closed it. That's why we didn't do it. We were going to at least take a small group up, the more hardy folks that felt like they could deal with it. And I was thinking, can I wait on the bottom and wave? I was going to be on the lower tier on that one. But it was taken out of our hands with it being closed. So what we're going to do is, I don't know what the place is that we're going to look like. It might be a parking lot, but it will be a parking lot.
It's the only space we've got for everybody.
Okay, right.
To do our thing.
Okay, it's the only space where we can actually do something, with the larger group.
Because we'll all be together, whereas before we'd have been broken up into groups.
Yeah, Asan's pointing out that before, if we had done the thing, we would have been broken up into, I think, 3 groups, because we wouldn't have been able to go up all at once or anything. Oh, yay, that was fast. Good, good. All right, we have some new magic words for the end of tonight and tomorrow. But the place that we're going to go to is the closest where we can get grid access to Skellig Michael. Now, tonight we will see a bit of the maps as far as the Atlantean maps, and it will give us a bit of an understanding of what we're doing there, as far as why we're going to that site, why we were aiming for Skellig Michael. What I didn't know before, I was working on the maps in that crazy period after the bath time, but what they gave me in the last hour was fascinating. If there was anything I had no idea this workshop was going to be about, it was Merkaba. I thought we did Merkaba, been there, done that, moved on ages ago. Oh no, we're moving into a new era of understanding Merkaba, transharmonic Merkaba, and how to activate it. So, we are going to have very interesting, the rest of the techniques. Tonight we will do one technique at the end of the presentation. The one for tonight is called the lotus seed, receiving the lotus seed. This has to do with getting our first little spark of what they're referring to as the silver seed. And the silver seed has to do with what's called the flame of Aurora, or the flame of Mashayahana. And it is literally, just like the blue flame of Tara was a piece of Tara's morphogenetic field that would come into our sphere of Mente race morphogenetic field to activate it. Well, this is a piece of the Mashayahana hubs in Aquarian matrix. So it is the beginning of the Silver Seed awakening. Because of the Silver Seed, it will enable us to activate transharmonic Merkaba, which means it will Merkabas that can take the light body and the atomic body through the aurora continuum and are not bound by the hierarchical structure of the dimensional chain as it exists on the outer. It means you can go in between the domains, between the outer domain and the middle domain. So we'll be learning more about that, particularly in the long workshop, but the things we're doing to build up to the long workshop are fascinating. For tonight, we will get we will receive the first beginning of the Silver Seed for our personal selves and for the Aquafarian Shield. There'll be a point in time when we initiate this in the planetary grids as well. So when 2012 occurs, it's ready to fully activate. So a part of the Sphere of Amente in 2012, because of what we're starting tonight, a part of the Sphere of Amente will activate on the Ark of the Covenant that becomes aligned with the Crystal River, which will assist a lot of people that are connected to the Sphere of Amente that wouldn't otherwise have the ability to pick up those frequencies when the Metatronic 55 happens. But some of the neat stuff that we're doing is by the end of this journey through Ireland, we will have opened 2 large transharmonic doorways. What we're doing and why we needed to come down here is by tomorrow night we're going to do Technique 3. And Technique 3 is the beginning of the activation of our Merkaba fields, but not just individually, the individual ones, but also we're going to create a large mass Merkaba field. And it's going to be a freestanding, spinning one once we leave. Now, we will, when we go in the daytime, we will be seeding, because we will be having an activation tonight, we will be seeding the activation into the grids and sending that out into the Skellig-Michael area. And when we come back in the evening, we're going to learn something that I'm going to be sitting up there taking dictation on tonight. It's called Stardust Breathing Level 1. This has to do with activating the Density 1 level of our Density 1 Merkaba on a transharmonic spin. When we learned Merkaba mechanics before, and we learned tons of them, we learned all sorts of phases of Merkaba, the different speeds, all of that stuff. These were the ones that would just climb, the vertical ascent in the dimensions. These will activate faster, and at a certain point, they'll still use similar ratios, but they will be able to go into the aurora continuum in order to get us into what was referred to as the higher earth field. Probably in the big end workshop, we'll do some of the reading from the summary 1 that's not finished yet either, that deals with where and how those planes that are referred to as the higher earth, which are different than the median earth, they're between where we are in lower net earth and median earth. So there's this set of planes, 3-dimensional planes in between, that would be experienced physically as a version of earth that from the 10,948 BC period evolved without the net. So it evolved in a much more Christic way than what we have seen here. So we're going to, the transharmonic Merkabas, they're called the Aurora Merkabas. To be able to activate those will allow us to begin opening the gate systems between lower and higher Earth. This will allow us, by the time we're finished with all the activations in the workshop, we will first anchor the encryption of the geomagnetic field of higher Earth into our fields, and then we will activate them. What that will do is create a different lattice, a free lattice, around the Metatronic one that is being held into our fields by the magnetic grid, the geomagnetic field here. So we will first re-encrypt our own field, where we still have the coding from here, so we don't just disappear, because right now our atoms wouldn't be ready to disappear and they would vaporize. So we'll end up with both, where we are connected to both down here, where the Metatronic grids are activating, but also we'll be connected to higher Earth, which means we would have enough frequency from the collective higher Earth field coming in to counteract and counterbalance. It will create an immunity, a progressive immunity before we get to 2012 for the Metatronic stuff. So that will not flip over and take over our DNA and that kind of thing like it's going to, for masses of people here. So this is the first part of literally freeing our encryption lattice and bringing in the encryption of the higher Earth field. What's going to be neat, too, about this is, let's see, with tomorrow night's activation. So first we, in the daytime, we set the grids for what we're going to do in the evening. What we're going to do in the evening is the density 1 level of the transharmonic Merkaba activation. Before, we used the spin speed ratios of 33 1/3 electrical clockwise on the top and 11 2/3 counterclockwise, bringing energy out from the bottom. We will start with those, but then we will bring them to what's called a transharmonic snap. Okay? I didn't even know that. That just came through my mouth. Okay? Write that down, would you please? I'll forget what it's called. Transharmonic snap. Right. And there's a certain way of breathing. And yeah, seriously, I'll forget it, right? When it falls out my face like that, I'll forget it. Anyway, there's a transharmonic snap point that once you get the fields moving in the 11 2/3, 33 1/3, there's a point where they will build and become a 45 activation, both top and bottom, but still going counter spin, right? That's the difference between a Christic Merkaba and a Metatronic Merkaba. Metatronic Merkabas have same spin spiral sets, where a top and a bottom one spin in the same direction, where we will always have different movement in the two, but they will be creating a 45, so you add the two together, right? The 33 1/3 and 11 2/3, bring it up to a 45 activation. What that snap does is begin the crystal spiral activation in the density 1 level of our bodies. Just like with the 55 Metatronic activation, that starts the autopilot on the Fibonacci sucker spiral. Well, we have our version of how that works, but in a Christic way, where it literally starts the crystal spiral expansion and accelerations within the density 1 field. So we will be activating our density 1 transharmonic Merkabas tomorrow night, and what that will do is trigger in the grids. We're actually going to do a Shadra here, a big one, and that's why it's not going to be in this room. We're going to a room that's much bigger where we can do the lay down thing, so it'll be one like, bring your pillows or whatever if they let you kind of thing, because we're going to do a lay down Shadra projection and literally activate first our own personal ones to that snap point, and then we're going to do something. I'm not sure what it is, but I'll explain it, they'll explain it by tomorrow night. We're going to activate in the room the large one, the group one, the transharmonic doorway, and then we're going to send it out to the grids that we already set the encryption alignment for, so we send it out there. Then when we go back to Dublin on Saturday, because Friday is just like travel day, and me probably staying up all night doing a program for Saturday as usual. Saturday we create another one. But this time, we take our own activation levels to the density 2 level. Now, there will be some Mylar program stuff to go with this. We will look at, again, some of the things we learned in Sliders 5 about that orbing thing that we're supposed to be able to do, as far as what, the natural process, that if our atoms were at that 15-degree offset like they're supposed to be, because they're actually stuck to our light bodies right now, that there's a natural process of going into orb. That is how the living network works. What these Merkaba activations are doing are bringing us to the point where we can begin to do that, where our fields are capable of it. So we talked about in Sliders 5 that it required 5 to 6 dimensions worth of activations. It's actually up to D5, but that includes the density 1 level down here. So you got 4 levels down here and 2 of the density 2 levels to create that transharmonic orb thing. So what we're going to do is activate the density 2 level of the Merkabas, where we take it from, I have to find the chart because I haven't looked at it in years, but I believe the speeds were, instead of 11 2/3, I think it's like 101 or something on the bottom and 303 on the top, and you add those together, and that's the snap speed there. So they're going to teach us how to do that activation and get us part the way through that. That will begin the density 2 level of the crystal spiral activating. We'll also then create a large 2 density level, or it has 6 dimensions in it, even though it only goes up to D5, because it has that density level interface too. So we'll have that will create the 2 densities level large transharmonic Merkaba there, and it will also trigger this one down here that we left behind, that's going to be at the old Ark of the Covenant site in Atlantis where it had originally come down, and it will trigger that one into it also. They will stay there. When that occurs, when we do the snap point on the density 2 level, it will begin the crystal spirals of both of those Merkaba sets, the 2 densities worth of them, and not just the one that comes out and expands, but the one on the Adore side that actually goes counterclockwise. So it creates both. These are literally transharmonic doorways. They're referring to this as, well, they word this, they said, you could tell the people that we're building the stairway to heaven, that we are architects of light, sound, and spirit stardust. They refer to these transharmonic Merkabic doorways as the spheres of destiny doorways, where before, I remember I said, that sounds familiar, sorta. And it was like, oh, and Aeson reminded me, is that the sphere of destiny? No, the sphere of destiny, or the Drakgrid's activating. This is the sphere of destiny, or the orb of destiny, if you prefer. Yes, this begins activating our Christ Star vehicles with the light body to the point where at some point we are preparing our body, the next level of preparing our bodies to be able to actually go into orb, where we would be able to visit first the higher earth planes. We will learn more in the larger workshop about the earth planes and those kind of things, and where they are, and like in relation to the rest of the millions of things we've learned. And there's probably a few things that I don't know we're going to learn yet that have to do with graphs that aren't here yet. Where I hope that by the end there'll be a chart pack again, but at least we have the starter. For tonight, after we do the journey, and that's after we do some Mylars, there's this thing you're going to have. In fact, we can hand it out now, it doesn't matter. This is the beginning of a new song. Yeah, except they didn't give the melody yet, so that will come eventually. But what they're referring to this is, they call it the Sphere of Destiny, which is your Christ Star orb activated, your 6-dimensional Christ Star orb that allows you to go transharmonic. All right, the Sphere of Destiny, Son of the Ark of the Covenant. This is only part 1. It has 2 stands, S-T-A-N-Z, they call them. What this does is, first I said it's the calling of the Ark of the Emerald Covenant of Aramatena, because that's what the Ark of the Covenant was. If you go back and look in the Voyagers books, that's what the Ark of the Covenant was about, the Emerald Covenant of Aramatena. B, it will be the orbing activation song, and it will go with the stardust breathing that we're going to be learning tomorrow night, the beginning of, and then in the larger workshop, the second level, the density 2 level. So it will go with that, and it will come to a point, once you get your biorhythms used to the breathing style. I don't know what this is. They haven't taught me yet either, so I haven't hit my snap point. I have no idea what it's going to feel like. And the more, this will be a technique that once we learn these, we can take them home, and the more you work with them, the more it will accelerate the whole process for you. So it's something that, it's progressive, like you can do it as often as you like to progressively, accelerate your activation levels with going into orb state. And this song would go with it. At some point we're going to get, the melody to it. And I don't know how many more stands we're going to get. We've got the ones to use. They want us to do a Crystal River prayer together tomorrow. It's probably in a parking lot. And then at some point in that, like after we open the grids with the Crystal River prayer, then they were going to have us do the 2 stands to begin. And that's how we're anchoring in the grids. And then we're going to send that out, in the direction of Skellig Michael. And I'll show you why on the maps, what that connects into, of why we're aiming for there. And then I think there's probably going to be 2 more stands at least that will be given for the last workshop, for the long one. So we will have the command call anyway. We won't have, I don't know if we'll have the music for it yet, the melody, but for the Song of the Ark of the Covenant. And this is the one that once your body gets used to, once you practice with the Merkabas and the whole bit for a while, and you get your biorhythms used to that, there will be a point where you can just sing the song once we have the melody and all of that, and you're activated. And there's going to be a point with these 2 transharmonic Merkabik doorways that we are creating here. One will stay in Dublin, one will be at the old Atlantean activation site. There's going to be one more, I know, they're going to create one during the Sarasota workshops. There's like 2 drum circles and 1 Shadra on the beach at night in the next 3 workshops coming. And they're key in getting the BPR of the planetary grids where it can hold the probability alignment that we have. And I know we're going to create a large one there. And I have a feeling that's why we need to go to Maui as well next year, because we're going to create another one there. Maui, not Kauai this time, Maui. But since you're out there, you know, if anybody wants to do a side trip, Kauai is just a little airplane right away. When we get, they haven't told me how many of these we need to get, but at a certain point, when we get enough of them activated, we're also going to be taught at some point, maybe in the Sarasota workshop, of how to create these in our own living spaces. So we can actually have our own portable one, but we can also create standing ones in the places that we live. That doesn't mean you'll be able to bring your house through once everything starts to rock and roll on the planet, but it means it will keep it less Metatronic than it would otherwise be. So we're going to be taught how to do that. But at a certain point, there's going to be a critical mass of these created on the planet, and every other place that we've ever done a stand, because in the old days we used to do stands all the time, the Merkabik stands, it will trip them all into transharmonic activation. Yeah. Which means we'll at least get, while we're on planet for the next 200 years or however long we stay, right, or next generation, it will at least have part of all of the grids, including the main stargates, the halls of Mente bit, that will be temporarily, at least, under Christic control. Now, when the end times come, which a lot of us will be gone by then, either if the body is just, or because sometimes I don't even know if I'm going to make it through with the body. I don't really care, but after all the work we've put in for so many years, I'd really like to just bring a group through and say, see, I told you we still could. But one way or another, once we have these, and we're doing this like 3 years in advance before the heavy Metatronic activations kick in, that even if the bodies are too tired to keep up with these accelerations in the transharmonic, now some people's will actually stabilize and move backward, where they will actually have like less aging. I can't say you're going to like, you know, turn back into age 33, but you know, with the rate the planet, because the Metatronic stuff is still working in our DNA too. But whether or not we get the physical bodies through, if we are holding this activation, we have the transharmonic ability that is stabilized in the field and built in the field, where we can just sing the song and it pops or snaps. Yeah. It will, then you will definitely get out when whatever Bardo time is. You will definitely, you know, be able to. So that's kind of like the, you know, the alignment ticket that no matter what the Metatronic stuff is doing, you will already be keyed to the geomagnetic field of higher Earth. And that's the step in between where we are and median Earth. And then median Earth is a step in between, you know, here in Achille, and you know, there's like steps. So we're literally opening the stairway to heaven. And this is the first time we've actually built, like consciously built, a mass, huge Merkaba field, all right, a living Merkaba field, because they are living, breathing, you know, elemental structures. We've done smaller ones before. We've done, in the 12 tribes classes, we did elemental command stands, and I think we're going to be using one of those, some version of one of them tomorrow night, but this will be a lot more people than were involved in the 12 tribes, because they were small, limited classes. So we're going to be learning the next level of what it means to be a Christic guardian on planet Earth in the middle of a Metatronic activation period, right? So anyway, these can get passed out.
Have a couple of volunteers, please.
To pass those out. Thank you. Yeah, and tonight is supposed to just go for like, you know, up to 2 hours, because we do have to get some sleep and then be ready to go out tomorrow. And what we've basically done is we should have about the same hour content. We tend to aim for about 15 hours for a workshop. And we should get that in as long as we stick with the timings that, you know, that we have. So we do try to, you know, make sure we get the times that we're planning on, even if they're moved around. So tonight, if we do 2 hours, tomorrow night we do 3 hours, then we have the long 7-hour period or whatever on Saturday. 6 or 7, whatever it is. 6-ish. All right. We will get the time in. But what's more important is we'll get the activations in, and I think we're going to learn an awful lot in that last workshop. I'm kind of going, oh boy. How many graphs that we don't have yet, that I don't know about yet, are coming? Because I think I got about 10 last night.
Excluding the
Yeah.
rehearsal that are going to be required.
Oh yeah, the rehearsal parts. Yeah, that's true.
We've got to think about that.
Yep. Okay. Anyway. All right, what I'd like to start with is for tomorrow. It would be great if you could. Thank you. No, there's not too much.
In terms of
No, this is basically getting them familiar with the grids. All right, what we're gonna. What? All right, we're gonna look at a few Mylars here. Yeah. So when we go tomorrow, we have a clear understanding of what we are, on the maps, of why we are doing what we're doing, and what where was the Ark of the Covenant before that we're bringing it back to, and that kind of thing. So we'll start with, these are just the little maps from Voyagers, and they weren't done on a properly scaled map. They were just kind of like a rough version of the map. So this is these were the, in this period, the 50,000 BC to 28,000 BC to present period, where we have just the little island clusters of what was left of the continents. All right. Now what we've done is we've plotted these on the Mercator maps that Wilbur had painstakingly put together for us. So they're a bit more accurate as far as where was Atlantis, where was Lemuria, and that kind of thing. And they're a bit more accurate. They're not absolutely perfect, but they're a lot closer. What do you want to do? Yeah, new chair. You can take that one.